This morning with a purpose in his step as he hopped off the bus this morning in search of his 31st bowl appearance in his amazing 36-season career. More remarkable than that maybe is the weather. It's downright
unbelievable,
balmy here. And even more remarkable than that, Todd, here we are, first day of December, and we're talking about Penn State being one win away from going to a bowl.
Well, you remember on Broadway, of course, the man of La Mancha, Richard Kiley as Don Quixote, was famous for singing what? The Impossible Dream. Certainly back when they were 0-4 in September, nobody would have anticipated, let alone the idea of the fact that a lot of people said that they might not win a game at all. Now they won 5 of the last 6. They're 5-5. If they win today, they indeed will be bowl eligible, and scouts for both the Alamo and the Sun Bowl are here today to witness this team. Now, having said that, you mentioned the fact that 31 bowl games for Joe Paterno. This might be his most satisfying if indeed they make a bowl.
Bowl-like atmosphere here. It's Virginia's bowl game, and Chris, it's sold out. Lots of Penn State fans.
By Illinois at home, but the way they've won, the way they've come from behind time and time again on the road, this is a team that wants it badly.
You're right. Penn State will not be denied. Their offense, their defense, and the kicking game, and Joe Paterno's going to a bowl. They'll beat Virginia.
I don't want to make this too dramatic, but I think the Penn State story this year is one of the best stories in college football. The way that team started, and to look at the way they're playing now with Zach Mills at quarterback, it's a completely different team. They look more athletic at wide receiver. They're going to win 6 of their last 7. They're going to go to the Alamo Bowl, and that's a team and a program heading in the right direction under Joe Paterno. That was a great effort this year by Penn State.
Now to the Disappointment Bowl. And
67 degrees. Amazing sunny skies. Better than 60,000 fans on hand here at Scott Stadium for the regular season finale between Penn State and Virginia. For the Nittany Lions, there might be another game to be played. On the left, how about the contrast? Al Groh in his first year here at Virginia. And on the right, of course, Joe Paterno in his 36th season. Hi, everybody, and good afternoon. I'm Steve Levy. For Penn State, this is their first December regular season game since 1979. Again, this game was scheduled to be played back on September 13th, but in the wake of the national tragedy of September 11th, it was postponed until now. And way back when this game was supposed to be played, Penn State was 0-1 off a tough loss to Miami on their way to 0-4. And Todd Christensen, the turnaround has been amazing, and it's attributed greatly to quarterback Zach Mills.
Well, the moniker comeback kid has been dubbed for many, but certainly it is apt where this young man is concerned. Against Ohio State down 27-9, this young man rallied them to a Joe Paterno's 324th victory. Then just last week against Michigan State down 24-7, he comes off the bench in relief of Matt Seneca and leads them to a 42-37 victory. It seems, Steve, that he has that magical quality. He has that it about him. Now, on the other side of the field, Virginia set records for passing this year in attempts, completion, yardage, and touchdowns. The major beneficiary of that was Billy McMullen, their all-ACC wide receiver. You see the big numbers that this 6'4", 205-pounder can put up. And, Steve, since both defenses are giving up close to 30 points per game, I'm guessing we might see a shootout.
It's one of the concerns for Joe Paterno. The other is Virginia had a bye off last week. Paterno said he might not have rescheduled this game if he realized there was a hole in the Cavaliers' schedule, giving them an extra week to prepare. But today it's all about the bowl. There's a bowl flavor here. Penn State a win away from being invited to the bowl. Brian and Rodney on the other side, and then we'll be back with
Mills ready to go. Penn State needing a win to become bowl eligible. It's Penn State and Virginia coming up right now on ESPN.
Going to get another bowl game. For more, down to the field, here's Dave Ryan.
All right, Steve, thanks a lot. It is interesting to track the respective paths of the 4 quarterbacks involved in this game. Each has had a significant role with his team throughout this season. At Virginia, Matt Schaub and Bryson Spinner each have started games. In fact, Spinner is 4-2 as the UVA starter. But he has not been nearly as consistent as Schaub, so Al Groh goes with Schaub. Today, Groh wants a Trent Dilfer-like situation when he won the Super Bowl with the Ravens last year. Nothing flashy, just enough to win the game. At Penn State, Zach Mills takes over as starter for Matt Seneca. He's led the Lions to 3 comeback wins this year, but Joe Paterno refuses to publicly make him the #1 starter. That's in part due to Seneca's great leadership skills. In fact, guys, a few moments ago, inside the Penn State locker room, Seneca, as an upperclassman, was helping with leadership to help motivate his Nittany Lions today. And Joe Paterno feels a public demotion of Matt Seneca could diminish those leadership skills.
All right, Dave. Set to go. It is a spectacular day. Cannot get over the weather here. 67 degrees, about 20 degrees warmer than normally. It's pretty nice in Happy Valley, too. And we imagine there is a tremendous interest, not just in Happy Valley, but throughout the state of Pennsylvania and all across this great country of ours where Penn State alum reside. Penn State has won the toss and elected to receive. There's an upset right. We don't keep track of those things, but it's rare you win the toss and elect to receive.
Shows the confidence that they have in their offense, and why not? They had 5 straight touchdown drives against Michigan State last week with Zach Mills at the helm.
And we are set to go. David Green puts it in the air, and we are underway. And here's Penn State out with Tony Johnson. Out to the 15. He's just across the 20-yard line, and a flag flies before we can get a play 10 seconds in.
One of the strangest things, and sometimes you get used to this, Tony Johnson caught the ball like an outfielder did over his head. You rarely see that on a kick return. And he caught it going backwards, and that was an ominous beginning for them, because not only did he just get out to the 20-yard line, but they'll be 10 yards farther back as a result of the holding. See, this is different. Usually the guy catches it in his breadbasket. It's very odd when you see a guy catch it that high. And he was fortunate that he didn't fumble it.
Now we're set. Zach Mills, the starting quarterback for Penn State. The freshman sensation has really come on. He's still playing with a sprained left ankle. He injured against Illinois, and the rest of the BestBuy.com backs and receivers.
Brian Johnson has been their go-to guy over the last couple of weeks, but take a look at number 42, Mick Blosser. He has been a stud.
First down and 10 after the penalty from the 9-yard line, and the handoff it is to Mick Blosser, the fullback, and he's not going anywhere. No gain on the play, and it'll bring up a second down and 10. And the offensive line for Penn State, a much maligned unit the first 2 games, but ever since the 3rd game of the season, they've been able to start the same 5 in the exact same 5 positions.
And the key for the defense for Virginia is Monsanto Pope, number 98, the 2-gap nose guard who has 94 tackles, an astounding amount for somebody playing in the middle of the defensive line.
On second down, they'll give him a yard on that last carry. Second down and 9. Mills directing traffic, and now he'll drop the pass. The lefty pumps under some pressure, and he will just throw it away. He was pressured by Darrell Sanders for Virginia. And the linebackers now for Virginia. And this is a good unit led by Angelo Crowell, who needs just 3 tackles to set the single-season record for Virginia.
Secondary has had some problems throughout the year, but Shenard Newby has 5 interceptions. Evans a big hitter.
Some problems, huh? We're off to a kind start today, Todd. Third down and 9, and we'll see if that secondary gets picked on right here. They remain with Eric McCoo and Mick Blosser in the backfield. 2 receivers split out to the left. And here's Mills. Secondary won't be tested unless they make a tackle on the running play. Omar McCoo comes up way short. Lubomir Stemenich made the stop.
Not wanting to take any chances deep in their own territory, they're content to give their punter a little bit more room.
David Royer will come on to punt. Royer and Penn State, they lead the conference in net punting. They're number 19 in the nation. Alvin Pierman is back deep for Virginia, standing at his own 42. Royer will get it away. It's a short one. Pierman able to run up. Now it'll run back for it. Now crosses the 50. And he's in the Penn State territory. Stopped at the 43-yard line. Gino Capone on the special team stop. A 38-yard punt, a 6-yard return. And Virginia will take over in excellent starting field position. Matt Schaub, the starting quarterback, has yet to win a game as the starter. 0-5 so far this season. The sophomore looking to get it done today, and the rest of our BestBuy.com starting lineups.
Documented Billy McMullen for you at tailback. Finally, Antoine Womack, over 1,000 yards in the year 2000, led the ACC in rushing, but has been hampered with a high ankle sprain all season long.
And they'll pitch it out to Womack and try the right side on for size. And he'll pick up 4 yards on the play. The offensive line he is following is a bit of a makeshift offensive line. Jared Woodson was the starter until about a month ago. That's when Kevin Bailey took over. Bailey came up with a neck injury, not dressing today. Woodson is back to the man in the middle.
And now with Antoine Womack back, the front four is going to have to be a lot tougher against the run, particularly Adams and Kennedy. Steve, coming into this game, Penn State is giving up over 200 yards per game rushing.
send Estes in motion as they pitch to Womack, the right side again. And he's short of the first down to bring up a third down and short. Bob Jones made the stop. As always important when you're talking about Penn State, the line backing positions, Tolles, Finney, and Graham across the middle.
Sean Mayer, their leading tackler, who has overcome both ACL and back surgery, but the corners have been very good the last couple of weeks. Bruce Branch with some huge plays last week against the Spartans.
Third down and 4. First down will give him a shot at least at a field goal. And here's Shaw. Gonna pitch it out to Womack, the left side. He'll stutter step and forget about it. Didn't even get back to the line of scrimmage. Brian Scott read it all the way for Penn State.
Steve, here's one of the advantages of having a cornerback who is 6'2" and 215 pounds. Normally your corners are cover guys, they're not big hitters. But number 32, Scott, as I mentioned, his dimensions, not afraid of the running back, takes him head on, drops him in his tracks. Excellent open field tackle.
That's Mike Abrams, the punter for Virginia. Bruce Branch is back deep at the 10. See if he gets a shot at this one. Abrams, a sky-high punt. Branch will let it bounce. And Virginia can't get there in time. It'll be a touchback. And Penn State will take over on 1st and 10 from their own 20, their second possession of the game. The Nittany Lions, after the 0-4 start, have rallied back at 5-5, a win away from being bowl eligible. You know, if they're eligible, they'll be invited. Sideline, George Welsh used to walk for 19 seasons here. Somewhat surprising the play calling in that first series.
It really was. I thought they had an opportunity to do something, and I don't know, maybe it's a lack of confidence in the quarterback early on, but going 3 and out with that field position is not the way to go.
Second possession for Penn State. Here's Mills to put it up. And going sideline, and it is caught. Completed pass. Tony Johnson, terrific sideline grab for 12 yards.
It really was. That wasn't Mills' best throw by any stretch of the imagination. He threw it a little bit wide, but Tony Johnson able to come back, extend himself. He's on the ground, is able to trap the ball between his hands and get both feet down. Excellent play by number 11.
Last 3 games for Tony Johnson. He's had touchdown receptions of 63, 60, and 59 yards. They'll take the 12-yard gain to warm up. Wasser and McCoo, the running backs. Eric McCoo, the ball carrier. And look at that. Scampering out to the 40-yard line, just shy of the first down. For more on maybe the most important game of the day, for a lot of reasons, here's Brian Kemp.
Hey, Steve, Army and Navy, the 102nd meeting. Navy has won the last 2 in this series, one of the best in all of sports. Chad Jenkins to Brian Bronson, and off he goes, 42 yards, and winless Navy down 13-0 to Army in the first quarter.
All right, Brian, thank you. We mentioned George Welsh, by the way, one of the people in attendance today. No, he's at the Army-Navy game instead. Mills throwing out a run, got a wide open man down the sideline, and it was Eric McCoo out of the backfield, and McCoo couldn't come up with it.
And Mills is dying to get that one back. He needed to throw a pillow. And what I mean by that is when you have a guy that's that wide open, don't try and lead him. Because of his running ability, everybody thinks this is it. It's the quarterback sweep. Does a great job of tucking. What a tremendous fake. Now McCoo is wide open. The thing that McCoo needs to do also, Steve, is that he needs to put his head down and run. Inevitably, when you run 10, 15 yards with your head looking back, you're going to be a little bit slower. Puts his head down and runs straight ahead, he might get it.
Bring up a 3rd down and 1. Eddie Drummond is split out to the far side, and on 3rd and 1, Mills going to try to keep it in a second effort, gets the first down and more. Out to the 47-yard line.
And Jerton Evans is frustrated with himself because he had a TFL for himself, had a stat, tackle for loss, but he couldn't drop number 7. Strong safety, watch at the top of your screen. Number 30 is going to knife in there now to the right of your screen, just cannot wrap up Mills. And once again, he shows terrific ability. We've seen him as a runner before, Steve, and he doesn't look all that flashy. He doesn't look all that fast, but for whatever reason, people don't bring him down.
Against Ohio State, he had a 69-yard rushing touchdown. Right? I mean, he was hurdling defenders. Yep. So they get the first down. Johnson and Blosser in the backfield, and they pitch it out to Johnson, the right side, and he's taking on some people out to the 43-yard line. Art Thomas finally bumped him out. Penn State uses a lot of different offensive people they want to get the football to. Easy, McCoo, Larry Johnson, Eddie Drummond. We've already seen McCoo, the running back, line up as a wide receiver. We've seen Drummond, the wide receiver, line up in the backfield.
And it's interesting, Steve, because when we chatted with Joe Paterno about this, I said, you know, wouldn't you rather have that guy that can go 25, 30 carries a game? And he conceded that he might, but the reality is he had so many good players at that position, he had to give them all touches.
Tony Johnson in motion. They fake it to him and handed the first man through. Mick Blosser, the fullback. Another example of a guy who will get a couple of carries every single game.
Had the key first down last week against Michigan State because everybody was anticipating one of these four guys were going to get the ball. Very strange. You see on the left of your screen, Johnson. That's the leading rusher. 298 yards leading rusher. That doesn't make much sense. But yet that's the way they've been distributing it throughout the season, and it's been very effective, particularly in the last 6 games.
On first down and 10, Nittany Lions on the move. Lefty passer to throw on the left sideline. And that was too strong for Gerald Smith. Smith, who has yet to catch a ball this season, nearly had his first.
Well, he had John Duckett, the linebacker, on a blitz in his face and threw that just a little bit too far. Now, Joe, you know what? Now, see, a lot of people don't realize that about Joe. They think he's just managing things. The man is coaching, all right? The man comes over and makes points. He's all over the field.
Some words for the redshirt freshman from Maryland. Mills, how's this for a fake? He's still got the ball. And now he'll throw and throw it away. What a fake that was. Froze the stadium. As we send it back to Brian Kenny. Brian.
That fooled me, Steve. We'll take you to Michigan State and Missouri meantime. And Michigan State wants to get a bowl bid. Need a win here to do it. Look, it's a double reverse. Oh, somehow Charlie Rogers comes out of the pack up the sidelines, 20 yards for the touchdown. Another look how close he was threading along the sideline. 31-0 Spartans.
Well, you heard Steve talk about hurdling, so he opted to do it.
Back for 3rd and 10. They got to look at that fake again. Out of the shotgun. They fake the draw, and here's Mills to throw. Down the sideline into heavy coverage, but Brian Johnson comes down with it. In double coverage, Johnson able to make the grab.
Steve, we have seen him do this time and time again, and he's in double coverage, but that just shows the confidence they have in number 24. Here he is in double coverage. He's running the corner route. He's running the corner route. We're waiting on it. But at 6'2", 205 pounds, he continues to outpower and outleap people to come up with the ball.
It's a gain of 30 for Brian Johnson. Kind of funny, a week ago, he set up all 3 McCoo touchdowns with catches down to the 2-yard line. So the other guys, the other wide receivers, hey, we're supposed to get some touchdowns once in a while. Not the case with Brian Johnson. A great game a week ago, but couldn't get in the end zone. Handed to the first man through. Again, that's Mick Blosser, the fullback.
And Steve, unlike basketball or hockey, they don't have an assist. They don't have a first or second assist for that matter. So all he gets is the yard. Well, Mick Blosser is a rugged fullback, 6 feet tall, 237 pounds. The young man has been outstanding, not only running the ball, but in blocking particularly. And Steve, I believe this is the first year that he's received a scholarship.
Here's 2nd and goal. Out to the right side and making it look easy is Eric McCoo for the touchdown, and Penn State on the board and that much closer to a bowl game.
Well, Steve, we need to give a little credit. Now, for the 8th straight game, they have a little continuity. At the beginning of the season, Steve, Penn State's offensive line was in shambles, but now Gus Felder, Greg Ransom, Joe Iorio, Tyler Lenda, and Chris McKelvey have been together. And, of course, John Gilmore is also an outstanding blocking tight end. That O-line was really the key to that series, Steve.
80 yards in 11 plays. Maybe the key play on that drive, the Mills run for the first down on 3rd and short to keep the drive alive. Here's Robbie Gould for the extra point out of the hold of Matt Seneca. And it is up, and it is good. 8:19 left here in the first quarter. Penn State has 7-0 lead, and they're not faking. They're not kidding either about being serious in search of a pole.
ESPN's presentation of college football is brought to you by Chevy Trucks, the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road.
Back in Charlottesville, Virginia, the Nittany Lions score first. The 80-yard, 11-play drive capped off by the Eric McCoo 3-yard run for the touchdown. David Kimball is set to kick it away. And back deep, Ottawa Anderson and Tavon Mason for Virginia. Talked about converting third downs for Penn State. Key during that drive last week, 9 of 15 third down conversions. Last 2 games, 17 of 27.
And pretty impressive on that drive too, Steve, was the balance of those 80 yards. 39 were running, 41 passing.
Here's Kimball to put it in the air and put it out of the end zone for the touchback. And Virginia will take over 1st and 10 from their own 20. There's Matt Schaub leading the Virginia offense onto the field. You do get the sense, Dave alluded to the 4 quarterbacks today. Might see all 4 in the game at some point today. First down and 10 from the 20-yard line. So Michael McGrew in motion and hand it off to Antoine Womack, and he finds a hole and he races down the sideline across midfield, and Penn State will get the angle. Sean Mayer made the stop, preventing 6. What a run by Antoine Womack, gain of 44.
Well, the great runners have vision. Great runners have vision. Watch now, he's going to cut back against the grain and see the hole. Now he cuts back, heads to the outside, and Steve, clearly he's not 100%. Watch now as he starts to gallop a little bit. You can see he's favoring that leg just a little bit. And I'm thinking, Steve, that if he was 100%, he could have gone the distance. But even at whatever he is, 80, 85%, he looks awfully good here early on.
Womack will get a breather. Pierman will check in. And Alvin Pierman, the true freshman, carries the ball there. Sports Center in game, set for an update. Once again, here's Brian Kenny.
Steve, the 1AA playoffs are underway, and Georgia Southern is the 2-time defending national champions. Here's Adrian Peterson's first carry of the day, a 19-yard touchdown run. Tied up, though, Florida A&M tied up in the first quarter.
2nd down and 6. Jimmy Kennedy off the field for Penn State. Womack is back in the game. So Tyree Foreman in motion to fullback. And Foreman is the intended target and the receiver. Tyree Foreman on the receiving end of Matt Schaub's pass. Anthony Adams on that Penn State defense makes the stop after the gain of 12 and down to Dave.
Yeah, guys, Joe Paterno knows a poor start defensively will not wash against Virginia today. This year they've fallen behind Northwestern, Ohio State, and Michigan State, only to rally in the second half. 6 times this year, the Lions have held their opponents to 7 or fewer points in the second half. But he said we need a good start today on this drive, not looking too effective, especially against the run.
You think that Penn State defense wouldn't want to hear Joe Paterno and Tom Bradley screaming at him at halftime the way they did 1 week ago. Womack slips, picks himself up, and has excellent running room there. He's inside the 15, a gain of 7.
Once again, similarly to the last time, the play is designed to go to the right, and Womack with his vision cuts back to the left. Sometimes they say follow your friends, but if you see a hole and you're good enough back and quick enough, you can go back against the grain, and that's what Womack does. Al Groh had nothing but plaudits for that young man, despite the fact that he struggled so mightily this year. As you can see the numbers from last year when he led the conference in rushing.
On 2nd down and 3, St. Esther's in motion, and they'll pitch it out to the right side of Alvin Pierman. He was slowed down and then tackled at about the 14-yard line by Shamar Finney.
Shamar Finney is the outside linebacker for... He's really an outside linebacker, but they're playing him on the inside because he's 237 pounds. Finney is somebody who has been outstanding this year, 2nd on the team in tackles, but he's playing out of position. Tom Bradley, defensive coordinator, concedes that point. The fact that it's 6'2", 237, you know, that's funny to me, Steve, the evolution of the young athlete. 237 pounds is too small to play in the middle.
There's 3rd down and 4. They keep it on the ground. Anton Womack, and he is sent flying back to to the 14-yard line. 10 Falls and Anthony Adams were there.
See, I was just about to say the young man who replaced Kennedy, Falls, is able to penetrate the center guard gap and dropping, and that's going to force a field goal attempt. Now, we say field goal attempt. I say this, Steve. When you are, I think that Virginia's in a situation that they've got nothing to lose. They can take some chances and maybe go with a fake, but maybe early on they'll be content to get 3 points on the board, but why not?
David Green is on to attempt. This will be a 32-yard field goal. Green just 10 of 17 this season. And this one is good. David Green connects, and Virginia's on the board. Get the sense nothing's going to be easy for Penn State today. 5 minutes to play in the first quarter. Nittany Lions lead 7-3. Back in Charlottesville, 7-3 in favor of Penn State, and the Nittany Lions are set to get the football back as David Green puts it in the air. Larry and Tony Johnson back deep. Neither will have a chance to return it. Out of the end zone, 1st and 10 from the 20-yard line for Penn State. When Penn State started the season 0-4, they were last in the entire nation in rushing, in scoring, in total offense. In the first 4 games, they averaged just 41 yards rushing. Over the last 6, they've greatly improved it by 4 times, averaging 165 yards per game on the ground. And they have, as we alluded to earlier, come from behind in all 5 of their victories this season. But here they have the lead, 7-3. And Mills will hand off to Larry Johnson. Speaking of Johnson and Johnson and Johnson, down to Dave Ryan.
It's a lot of Johnson, Steve. Chris Johnson is here, wife of Larry, the defensive line coach, and mom of Larry and Tony, running back and receiver respectively. At your house in State College, Pennsylvania, does anything but football get discussed?
On occasion, softball, but basically we are 95.5% football.
Your daughter, Teresa, plays softball for the Penn State team. Larry said it was a very emotional moment, Larry Sr., that is, a couple weeks ago in the Indiana game when both of your sons had huge games, to be able to see that in person.
Yes, with him coaching on the defensive side of the ball all the time, he can't get involved in what the offense is doing. So it is very emotional for him when the boys do have a good game.
All right, now number 5 here for one of your sons, Larry. For Johnson, how about turning around, Chris Forrest? And there, guys, is Tony, number 11. Takes care of both his sons.
All right, Dave. And Mrs. Johnson, thank you. Larry Johnson Sr., the defensive line coach, he said the big thrill for him, he's on the sidelines to watch his kids play every single Saturday. He said, wow. And you get the real feel as a proud papa. And there is Larry Johnson Sr. Larry Johnson Jr. in the backfield, out of the shotgun. Here's Mills. Good protection. Time to set up and survey the field, and completes to R.J. Luke. Luke is shy of the first down.
That's excellent in the open field by Raymond Mann, linebacker, because Luke was going to spin around and it appeared might have an opportunity to get the first down, but it's going to be 4th down now, and a couple of the players are pointing in that direction and they say no. Luke now spins around and look at Mann. He's right on top of him. He's not going to let him go. That's an excellent tackle, and remember, Luke is a 240-pounder. To prevent him from getting the first down, it's outstanding by number 47.
Back in the spring, Raymond Mann won the Rock Ware Award, Virginia's most improved player. Alvin Pierman is back deep. The punt low snap, but it's handled by Royer. And Pierman from the 35. Cut up the middle and then knocked backwards to the 40-yard line. Gerald Smith on the special team stop.
Now watch at the end of the play here. This is kind of interesting. You see Luke has the one ball in his arm. And as he gets tackled, oh my gosh, there's another ball in the field. And what happened, I thought it was interesting at the end of the play because I didn't think that he had fumbled. And now you have some Virginia people go, oh look, let's go. I got it, we're gonna score. Stamanich is a little bit confused, and of course, the ball boy is very embarrassed because that ball snuck onto the field.
R.J. Luke broke one a week ago for a 64-yard touchdown. Couldn't break one there. 1st and 10 for Virginia. You get the sense this is the game plan. Handoff to Antoine Womack. Across midfield. Stopped by Brian Scott. And we're set for an update. Back to Brian Kennedy.
Steve, 1AA playoffs. Again, the defending national champions, Georgia Southern, 25-0 in home playoff games all time. But there's Kelsey Lordius of Florida A&M, and A&M has a lead on Georgia Southern in the first quarter.
Do not underestimate the Rattlers, Steve. What'd I tell you?
You know, when those two get together, you throw out the record books, Todd. Here's first down and 10. Womack again, the ball carrier. He's running into people. He's across the 45 down to the 44-yard line. Brian Scott made the stop. And Womack started game 1 of the season and started the last game and did not start in between. You mentioned the ankle injury earlier. Still has no touchdowns in his fourth game. Al Groh, who does not gush much, was gushing over Antoine Womack yesterday.
And why not? Here in the first quarter, Steve, already 8 carries for 73 yards.
On second down and 5. Schaub will put this one up. And complete, tippy-toeing down the sideline is Tavon Mason on the short game.
Tavon Mason, of course, is earlier in the year, remember, had the 100-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. He's their big play guy.
That was in their biggest win of the season, the upset victory over at Georgia Tech. Also had a 19-yard touchdown catch in that same game. It was good for a first down.
Timer, please reset the clock to read 1:33.
7 more seconds added on to the clock. Steve Newman, our referee. The linesman is Jim Mullendore.
And Jim Mullendore is the man who got whacked in our Purdue game. We visit with him before the game. So this is his last game. He's retiring.
After 31 years wearing the stripes, he appreciated us only showing the replay 4 times of the hit he took in that Purdue game. On first down and 10. They'll pitch it out to Womack. Off left tackle. And he's across the 40 and down to the 37-yard line. Shamar Finney, the stop. Today at 3:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN, George Godsey and Georgia Tech will head to Tallahassee to face Bobby Bowden's Seminoles. Both teams have accepted bowl bids already and looking to roll into the bowl season. A little momentum on the line today. Georgia Tech and Florida State at 3:30 Eastern.
Steve, it just goes to show how college football has changed. If you had seen this game, say, a month ago, you say, well, that, you know, or at the beginning of the season, you say, well, you know, that's for the ACC title. Not so. A lot of other teams in that conference have been tough.
A pitch to the right side from Womack, who elected instead to run up the middle behind the center. And he's out to the 30-yard line. Virginia has run 14 plays on offense, 10 of them runs by Womack.
And why not? You know, it's been successful. And again, Penn State is going to have to make some adjustments there on defense. They continue to over-pursue to that side of the field. That's the 5th time now Womack has started right and cut back left.
We talked about the praise of Womack by Al Groh. Joe Paterno said this week, in the open field, T.J. Duckett is better than Ron Dane, and Womack is better than Duckett. High praise indeed. On third down and short. You guessed it. And it won't work that time. Exactly what the Penn State defense was waiting for. Antoine Womack and Shamar Finney brought him down.
Now, Steve, that's 3 different times that this has happened on third down situations that they've gone to Womack and he's gotten stuffed. But my guess is because of the length of the field goal here, Steve, that they're going to go for it here on fourth down. Yes, indeed. We got it this time. And, of course, it's the end of the quarter, and that gives a big advantage to Virginia now to talk it over as opposed to having to call a timeout for a fourth down play.
Quarter number 1 complete. This score holds up. Penn State will be headed for a bowl game during the holiday season. The second quarter on the way. Just in time to open up quarter number 2. On 4th and 2, Virginia will go for it. Schaub fakes the pitch and flares it out to the right side to the tight end. I believe it's Patrick Estes on the catch for the first down.
That's a great call. That's a great call. They bring Pierman in the game. They go with the fake pitch. Everybody's anticipating a run. They go with the misdirection. Estes falls out in the flat. Very easy throw for the quarterback. First down for the Cavaliers. Nice job on a fourth down conversion.
Estes, a true freshman from Richmond, Virginia. That's just his 3rd catch of the season. And it keeps the drive alive for Virginia. Off the play action to Pierman. Schaub is throwing into heavy coverage, and there's all sorts of contact. There is a flag down in the backfield, not along the coverage, along the line of scrimmage.
Derek Tolles came in on the blitz. And it was interesting because Tolles had kind of a delayed blitz. I think he was anticipating a run. He comes in and really whacks Schaub. Number 2, here he is right here. 2, here he is right here. He hesitates right to think it's a run and then go, wait a minute, I'm going to go after the quarterback. And of course, I think that's one of the reasons why short-armed the ball a little bit. But of course, it all goes for naught because of the holding that will move them back to the 35.
Billy McMullen, their record-setting wide receiver, was the intended target. And what a target he is at 6'4", 205. Junior also from Richmond, Virginia.
Already setting the Virginia record for receptions in a season. Of course, he's passed up some pretty good receivers, guys like Jermaine Crowell and Herman Moore.
1st and 20 after the penalty marker. Pitch to Womack again. They try to send him to the left side. He picks his own hole out the right side, out to the 30-yard line. As we revisit ESPN's exclusive game track, the bottom line, it's simple. Penn State, tremendous turnaround mid-season, a win today, and they're bowl eligible.
Well, of course, Eric McCoon now with his 4th touchdown in 2 weeks. Scampers in, standing up, and of course the story for the offense of Virginia has been Antoine Womack to see his numbers. Steve, the question that I would ask here is he's had so many carries so early. Is fatigue going to be a factor? And on a day like this, which is very warm.
Here's Womack, left side pitch, just a little behind him, so he had to hesitate just a moment, and maybe it cost him a yard or two. He's taken out by Sean Mayer and Brian Scott as we send it down to Dave Ryan.
Steve, the UVA coaches say Antoine Womack starts talking the second he wakes up and doesn't stop all day until he falls asleep at night. But it's not just chatter, it's energy, and that's what this Virginia team desperately missed and needed when Womack was out recovering from ankle surgery, and he looks like he's hurting from that right now. It's a positive boost on a team really lacking in a charismatic vocal leader. His teammates call him a motivator, almost a Pat Riley of college football. They really missed it when he was out of the lineup this year.
One team member told us he's more vocal than the rest of the team combined. A lot of words. Here's Schaub throwing across the middle and completing to McMullen, who went back for it. He's down at the 10-yard line rather. Mayer made the stop on McMullen. 17-yard gain.
The thing that's particularly impressive about this, Steve, is the catch that McMullen makes. It's behind him, and so many times you see a guy reach back and kind of cradle it with his arms. Take a look at this. He's going to catch this in his hands. He catches it in his hands behind him. He doesn't cradle it with his arms or forearms. It's terrific. Look at the size of his hands compared to Dave Ryan. That's a digit and a half. That is astounding.
Here's Schaub rolling to his right, throwing in the end zone. Throwing it away. McMullen, the intended target. We send it back to Brian Kenny.
Steve, they're trying to win one for Woody. Woody Woodenhofer's last game as a coach at Vanderbilt, taking on Ole Miss. And early on, first quarter, Greg Zollman zips it in. MJ Garrett, extra point, no good, but it is 6-0 Vandy early in the first quarter. Steve, top?
I really like Woody, by the way. I had a chance to visit with him. I did a game down there a couple of years ago. Remember, he was one of the key architects of that defense for the steel curtain in the mid-70s.
Second down and 10. Pierman is the lone setback, and they hand it off to him. He's trying to break it out to the left side and can't. He's down at the 10-yard line. Sean Mayer stuck.
Steve, the defensive end and outside linebackers for Penn State just have to stay at home. They keep doing the same thing over and over again, and that's cutting back against the grain. There's a temptation when you're a young linebacker and defensive lineman. You want to flow right to the ball. Over and over again. Now take a look right here on the outside. You have to stay at home. You can't all of a sudden just flow to the football. And that's what happens. They block the one man who stays at home, and that affords yardage for both Pierman and Womack.
This is 3rd down and 8 from the 10. Here's Schaub buying himself some time, rolling to his right, now under pressure. And he will throw it out of the end zone. Remain in field goal position. Chris Luzar was there in the corner of the end zone.
And Steve, once again, Penn State has the bend but don't break philosophy. They continue to give up the big yards between the 20s, but on key 3rd downs, they've been able to stop Virginia short.
Speaking of giving up the big yards, they've allowed 500 yards each of the last 2 games.
Take a look. It's overthrown, but where does this sucker end up?
Ouch!
Holy cow! Have to have the responsibility of our camera guys to have hands as well. That's not right.
Here's David Green from 27 yards away, trying to make this a one-point game. And it's no good. Green misses from 27. It's another area where the Cavaliers have struggled this season. Green now 11 of 19 on the season.
Well, they just hooked him, and I can tell you right now that he is the least popular man on the field. He'll come by the bench, and everybody's going to treat him like a leper.
In Charlottesville, Virginia, it's approaching 70 degrees. That could be a record for December 1st. Normally, the folks on the sideline here tell me it gets about 40 to 50 degrees this time of year. And Virginia is prepared, guys. They got the Polar Cool fans. A little bit of cold moisture coming out to keep the guys cool. And right down the bench, some awning to keep them protected from the sun. I noticed the Penn State sideline does not have that for the Nittany Lions.
I lost my tie earlier today, and I see where it wound up. Around the neck of the Virginia student. It's like a day at the beach here. That's wild. Yeah, no day at the beach there for this guy, David Green.
You're not supposed to miss inside the 30. I mean, that's just, you're just not. That's tough.
Here's Zach Mills rolling to his right, making some people miss, and now running up the middle, and he'll slide just across the 30-yard line.
This is so frustrating for a defense, and particularly a defense, Steve, that, as you pointed out, has struggled in the secondary. Finally, they get good coverage, right? They got everybody covered. All right, we're covered. What are you going to do now, Mills? You got no place to go. You got no place to... Oh, nuts. Turns on that 4.6 speed, gets to the middle field, slides for the first down. So frustrating for a defense when the quarterback has the ability to do just that.
12-yard gain from Mills on the ground. This time we'll let somebody else run it. Pitching to the left to Eric McCoo. And McCoo's across the 35, and he is brought down by John Duckett. We are set for an update. Sports Center in game. Here's Brian Tenney.
Steve, we might be seeing the title change hands. Florida A&M takes a 21-7 lead on Georgia Southern, but hold on, not so fast, my friend. J.R. Revere to Mark Myers right away, and it's 21-14, Georgia Southern trailing. Navy, by the way, is on the board. Army still with a 10-point lead. That game 2 and change to go in the first half, guys.
All right, Brian, thank you. Brings up a second down and 5. Easy in McCoo in the backfield. Send Tony Johnson, the man in motion. And Mills will pitch it to McCoo to the right side. Nearly ran into Tony Johnson. And instead he is stopped by Shenard Newby, making the stop along with Armando Curry in a 7-3 ball game. And it's kind of interesting. We talked to Fran Gander, the offensive coordinator for Penn State. He said, you know, it's really fun now. Everybody's scoring points. We have to be creative, find a way to score points. They've averaged about 33 points per game throughout this turnaround in the season. Yet here today, kind of bogged down offensively.
Yeah, but yet they've been trying some things. You know, they've been trying the reverses, the bootlegs, all of these different things, you know, that in the past they didn't. You know, Penn State was notorious for winning all their games 14-10, 17-14. Now Ganter concedes the fact that, no, we've got to score, we've got to take some chances.
Shenard Newby being assisted off the field. And Penn State, of course, will take a win any way they can get it to become bowl eligible. While we have this opportunity, want to wish our director, John McDonough, who's back at home under the weather, trying to fight through it. Wish him a speedy recovery back home watching the Jersey McD. We're thinking about you. On 3rd down and 7 now. Larry Johnson is the setback. 2 receivers, bottom of your screen, left of Zach Mills. And here's Mills on the move, as he has been for most of this game. Throws back across his body, and it's dropped. John Gilmore had it. There was a player behind him, Tony Johnson, who might have been the intended target.
Steve, I was just going to say that's exactly right. Mills spies him first. He sees Tony Johnson back against the grain, and he's trying to throw him the ball. Instead, Gilmore jumps up and makes the attempt. Now watch the right of your screen. He's going to roll out. He gets a great block from Larry Johnson that enables him to get to the outside. Now he's going to throw across his body. This is intended. You'll see Johnson's waiting on it, but instead Gilmore goes up. He cannot hold on to it, and results a Penn State punt.
And there is a flag down as the punter Royer was hit as he got it away. The ball stopped at the 38-yard line. Gerald Smith might be the guilty party.
You see, there's so many times when you practice the punt block, you say over and over again, you try and anticipate where it's going to be. Where's the ball going to be? Not the punter. Now watch in the middle. Watch in the middle. You're supposed to go after it. Instead, he lays out right at the last minute. In fairness to him, he does get blocked into it a little bit, but still, you have to have that responsibility. And Jermaine Hardy is the guilty party. He does get blocked into it a little bit by Tom Williams, but it doesn't matter. The result's still the same. Personal foul. The ball goes back to the Nittany Lions.
Big break for Penn State. We'll see what they can do with this opportunity. As they'll take over 1st and 10 from their own 49-yard line.
Well, particularly frustrating, too, Steve, for Virginia. I mean, the defense has struggled all year long, and finally they get that stop. You know, they get that 3 and out, and then a penalty puts them back on the field. It's depressing.
And they'll open out of the shotgun. Off the play action, Mills throwing and completing to Bryant Johnson. Got a foot down at the 31-yard line. They'll move the chains, and we'll send it back to Brian Kenny.
Steve, we got a good look at Michigan State last week. They've lost 3 in a row going in here to Missouri. Looking to become bowl eligible, and they're well on their way. Jeff Smoker dumps it out to Little John Flowers. Off he goes, and look at this. 3rd quarter early, 38-0. Steve, Todd.
Look at the Big Ten bowl-eligible teams. Michigan State trying to join that party. Of course, so too Penn State. Hand off to Omar Easy, his first carry of the game. He's inside the 30, down to the 27-yard line. Angelo Crowell made the stop. Interesting about Michigan State, they've got the big lead. Hey, they had a big lead last week against Penn State. And I don't know if you saw any of the Toledo-Marshall game last night. I turned it off. It was 23-0. That ball game was over.
I guess not. I guess not.
So you got to be pretty careful these days. And someone said a long time ago, it's not over till it's over.
I will say this about Michigan State, however, Steve. They're going to rue that game last week, one that they should have won. Because I think it's going to be very difficult for them at 6-5 to get a bowl spot.
Here's Mills throwing and completing. It's Omar Easy out of the backfield. He crashes down at the 18. And what you're talking about there is, Todd, Michigan State could be bowl eligible and not invited. Completely different from Penn State, who you know, if bowl eligible, somebody's going to take Joe Paterno.
Well, certainly. And of course, everyone is cognizant of the fact, because we documented it so much, of this Cinderella story. And it is. It's a great human interest story. Michigan State, on the other hand, remember, at one point in the season was 5-2 and had defeated Michigan and was everybody's favorite for maybe even a New Year's Day bowl. And so, you know, it's going to be difficult for them to get invited, I believe.
A lot of it has to do with how you finish. You know, you get the sense, no matter how Penn State started or finished, they're bowl eligible. They're going to go, and Mills is going to go down. He's sacked by Lubomir Stamanich.
And that's the veteran defensive end, Steve. So many times you do that fake to the other side, and a young defensive end will go with it. This time Stamanich stays at home. He does exactly what he's told, which is do not follow the ball. Instead, Stamanich stays in his spot. The fake does not fool him at all. He goes right for the quarterback and able to drop him for a sack.
Stamanich last season led the Cavaliers with 4 sacks. Just a half sack this season. That's his first full sack of the campaign. Easy and McCoo in the backfield, with Mills in between them. Off the play action from the shotgun. Mills with time will step up and look to run for it. He's still on his feet. 10-5, and he's knocked out at the 4-yard line. You know, you mentioned it, Todd. Al Groh talked about it, that it, whatever it is. And maybe there is an example of what Mills has.
Well, one of the its is that the leading tackler, the all-time leading tackler for a single season, Crowell. Take a look, number 55. Mills lowers the shoulder and says, no, I'm not going down. And that's got to be, for Crowell, a little bit embarrassing. The 234-pounder literally gets run over by the quarterback.
Crowell, 3rd among linebackers in tackles for losses and sacks. 4th in the ACC in the whole conference in tackles, and he couldn't bring down the quarterback there. Here's Mills, throwing for the end zone, wide open, touchdown, it's Mick Blosser. What a couple of weeks Mick Blosser is having. Touchdown, Penn State.
And what a thrill for that young man, because usually, Steve, as we talk about frequently, fullbacks do not get the opportunity for any kind of glory. But once again, a great play action fake by Zach Mills. Blosser is wide open in the corner of the end zone, and that's an excited young man.
They call him the steadiest player on the offense. Nick Blosser on the receiving end of that touchdown.
And you notice that he just handed the ball to the official. You know why?
Like he's been there before?
No, that's right. And he hasn't been. Yeah, that's what he
even more impressive. Here's Robbie Gould for the extra point and boots it through. That roughing the punter penalty really hurts Virginia. With 7:49 to play in the second quarter, Penn State has the 14-3 lead.
There he goes. He scores and goes, here you go. It's all good. I don't need to do double backflip. Success is the best revenge.
Blosser touchdown catch from Zach Mills. Penn State a 14-3 lead. Now, guys, each week, offensive coordinator Fran Ganner of Penn State gives out a pair of boxing gloves to the running back who has the most knockdown blocks of the opposition. In all but 2 games this year, it's been the former walk-on Nick Blosser. He averages 6 KO blocks a game and has had as many as 11 in 1 game. He gets a pair of boxing gloves left in his locker. He's not flashy. The engineering major does all the dirty work. They call him the steadiest player on the Penn State roster. A little fullback love at the end with Paul Jefferson there, too, guys.
All right, Dave, thank you. You love to see fullback love. It's only second to tight end love, right?
Well, I just think I think it's a great shot there that the young man that's backing him up, because you know it's a competitive situation. You want to play, and yet here's the guy who's backing him up as the first guy to come and congratulate him.
The kickoff out of the end zone. You know, Blosser waited his time. He was a 5th-year senior, sat behind 3-year starter Mike Saramele, who had gone on to graduate. So everybody waits for their opportunities, and Blosser's able to cash in and take advantage of his in that last series.
And so I stand corrected, Steve. You said act like you've been there before, and the truth was is that he had been in the end zone before in 1999.
2 years ago. Probably forgotten what it felt like.
Well, it's been a lot of years for me. I just remember it feeling good.
Todd was salivating. We were on the field earlier. They were crashing into each other. You could hear the slamming of the pads and the helmets. Maybe just strap up the chin strap. Here's Schaub, hit as he throws. It's a jump ball, and it's knocked away. Bruce Branch had the coverage on Billy McMullen. And we check in the studio with Brian Kenny.
Steve, just to get you up to date, here's some games underway. Duke and Clemson, and Duke 0-10 on the board, has a 7-0 lead. See 22 straight losses for Duke. And 0-10 Houston underway against Georgia, but they trail 7-0 that game in the second quarter. Steve, Todd?
Brian, thank you. Back here in Virginia. Coming up on 7.5 to play in the second quarter, and the handoff to Antoine Womack, maybe a yard on the play. Tonight at 8 Eastern, over on ESPN2, 7th-ranked led by Brandon Doman, Luke Staley, and
Toby Christensen.
An explosive BYU offense. They look to remain undefeated when they travel to Mississippi State and take on a much-improved Bulldog team. That's college football Saturday tonight on ESPN2.
You see, BYU really needs to be careful because Mississippi State very impressive in defeating Mississippi last Thursday night.
Schaub able to step up and fire and complete to Billy McMullen. That's his second catch of the day for McMullen.
Well, Billy McMullen has been outstanding this year. You saw him earlier with that great hands catch behind. He's just a load. According to the coaches, they say he runs the 40 in the high 4.4s. Well, I don't believe that, but it doesn't matter. Simply because of the fact that look at the physical ability that he has. At 6'4", the great leaping ability, as we already documented, those huge hands, able to come up with the ball in some strange places. And I'd be interested, Steve, as to whether or not he is going to stay for his senior year, because he just put up some monstrous numbers this year. I'm guessing, you know, and everybody wants this. Everybody wants a guy who's 6'4", who can out-jump those little defenders.
McMullen moving up all the charts. Maybe most impressive, Todd, he's now 7 catches shy of breaking the all-time single-season ACC record for most catches in a season. Torrey Holt caught 88 balls in 98 for North Carolina State.
Steve, when asked about whether or not he was going to come back for his senior year, or he was going to leave, rather, he said it was an emphatic no.
Here's Schaub throwing to McMillan. Came back nicely to the ball. McMullen on the catch, and down to Dave.
That guy in an era where more media outlets are available than we can count. A lot of today's college football players love attention. They can't be interviewed enough, but not UVA star receiver Billy McMullen. He says he's not one to toot his own horn, that's for sure. After UVA loses this year, and they've done that 7 times already, McMullen declined to speak with reporters, says it's a team game. He wants to be involved with the media only after the team wins.
McMullen, 3 catches, 41 yards. That last pickup went for 12, Dave.
And that level of humility bespeaks his major religious studies.
Pitch to Pierman on the right side. Loose football, and I think it's recovered by Virginia. Chris Luzar, the tight end, it might even have advanced to the yard or 2.
Well, and you know what? It makes sense that Luzar would get the recovery because he's the reason for the fumble in the first place. Pierman comes running by and he gets hit on the elbow, and he gets hit by Luzar, who has no business being in the backfield. He should have been at the line of scrimmage blocking a little bit more effectively.
Luzar, the tight end, the 3rd leading receiver among tight ends in catches and receiving yards in the entire conference. Going to get his first catch today, but not this time. It's Tyree Foreman, the fullback on the receiving end. The first down and more. And he's pushed out of bounds the 40 of Penn State by Gino Capone.
Tyree Foreman is an outstanding receiver coming out of the backfield, Steve. That's his 25th. That's his 25th catch of the season. But here's the play before. Now what you're going to see right there. There's the ball that comes out, and Luzar is the one who says, "Oh, nuts!" You know, it's his elbow that ends up hitting Luzar. And here's the second play. Foreman, as we mentioned, terrific coming out of the backfield, breaks the tackle and nearly gets the first down for the Hoos.
Foreman scored a touchdown on 2 of the first 3 times he ever touched the football in the college game. And he's touching the football there, and then he is touched by a defensive back for Penn State. Pretty good size hit there by Jimmy Mitchell.
Steve, I got to tell you that's an inexperienced quarterback throw there. You don't loft this ball. You got to drill this ball because Mitchell has the opportunity of absolutely whacking him, and that's what he does. Foreman's very fortunate that his helmet landed on the thigh pad. Otherwise, he could have been injured. Those are the sorts of plays, Steve, where the cleats get caught in the ground, and that's when you get the leg injuries.
Jimmy Mitchell along with Tom Williams. They're the backups for Ron Graham. Came up with the hit there. Here's Schaub throwing. He was belted as he released the football. Bruce Branch had the coverage on Tavon Mason.
A little miscommunication there. And we talked about Womack in terms of his leadership. I noticed that right after the play, now that he's back in number 1, he starts screaming at some people and starts saying, you know, we got to get this right. The communication, Lyman, everybody else. They were right, boy. This guy is a chatterbox.
Todd, Virginia is doing to Penn State what the last couple of teams have done in terms of moving the football. 170 total yards so far for Virginia. Not at halftime, only 3 points to show for it. At bend, don't break. Here's Schaub. Had time, and now he runs out of time as Anthony Adams comes through with a sack.
Anthony Adams, known as Spice. We talked at the top of the show that both he and Kennedy would have to play a lot better for them to defeat Virginia. Up to this point, that's what they've been doing, Steve, playing some good football, making some plays.
Anthony Adams, all of them, only 6 feet tall, but he goes 290, the junior from Detroit.
I was about to say, not 250 or 60. Boy, he's hefty.
13-yard loss on the play.
And Joe is cautioning him there, say, you know what, make the play, but don't celebrate too much.
Off the handoff now to Womack. Just out to midfield. Trying to get back some of that lost yardage on the sack.
You can hear the boos, Steve, but the reality is that 3rd and so long it wasn't going to happen. And you see Joe Paterno now is going to take the opportunity to go over there and say, what's going on, you know, in terms of the celebration. You know, he doesn't want him to showboat. Of course, I'm guessing at this point, but that would seem to be the case.
We saw last week Joe had an animated conversation with Lamar Stewart, a true freshman, after a sack of Jeff Smoker. And Bruce Branch is back to receive the punt. Thought he was taunting Smoker, and in retrospect, Paterno said he probably should have apologized to Stewart. He didn't, but he said he probably should have because that was not the case at all. There's the flag for the halo penalty there. Arc Thomas, way too close. That wasn't even close.
It wasn't, but yet, you know what? It's a great play by Thomas, but he ends up paying for it. He fights and battles as the gunner coming down the field to get in the face of the return man, flying at top speed. And right at the end, well, look at Thomas. He's hustling. That's the right play. Makes the play. And you're right, Steve. It is a penalty, and it's just unfortunate. Punter, of course, is happy about it, but he goes, nuts. Well, Abrams, if it makes you feel any better, it's only 5 yards. And it doesn't affect your average. Come on.
Is there a second flag now? Looks like there were 2 penalties.
Well, I'm thinking if it means that they can kick it over again, that Penn State would want to do that because they don't want to start at their own 15. Make them kick it over.
Two fouls on the play. Illegal formation and only 6 players on the line of scrimmage on the kicking team. That penalty will be accepted 5 yards from the previous spot. Second foul was kick-catch interference on the kicking team. That penalty is declined.
Now this is interesting, and I point this out. You're at home, you've watched a lot of football games, right? You've seen the referee when he has 2 fouls. How many times have you seen it where he picks the first one that was accepted? Usually it's that one is declined, this wasn't accepted, right. The other way around. That was interesting. Little note.
Something a little different, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so they'll try it again.
So Steve Newman's not stuck on protocol. I like it.
Shake it up a little bit here in Charlottesville. Mike Abrams will put his foot into it again. Abrams from the 30-yard line. Bruce Branch is back at the 10 for Penn State, looking to set up a return. A 71-yard punt return for a score against Illinois. His school record 4th punt return for a touchdown. Won't get a chance there, and there is a flag down as Virginia looks like they downed it at the 1-yard line. I think Arc Thomas, the guilty party from the previous play, downed it at the 1, but let's see what the flag is for after the 54-yard punt by Abrams.
Steve, what I think happened there is that the punt returner, Branch in this case, all of a sudden turns into a blocker after he waves the fair catch. I don't think you can do that.
Richard Gardner was there for Penn State, along with Branch.
That's great hustle on the part of Thomas, and I say this. This is what I was going to say is that after getting the penalty the first time, you'd think that he'd be a little bit tentative hustling down the field. Instead, he was anything but.
Much easier to identify the Virginia players now with the names now this year on the back of the uniforms.
I like
striping.
It.
All of that coming from first-year head coach Alec Groh. We'll see if he's happy after this call.
There has to be picked up. The play. The defender was blocked with the zone.
Well, no, this makes sense, Steve, because what they were going to call is that they were going to call, the halo again. Here's Thomas right there. Now he gets out of the way. He had no intention of catching that punt. You see that the back judge throws the flag. That's a good job of huddling together and realizing, let's pick this thing up. Terrible field position for Penn State when we come back.
Penn State a lead, end of the first half here in Charlottesville. Well, Stephen Todd mentioned it earlier. If you haven't seen Virginia play this year, you'll notice a different look for the Cavalier uniform under first-year head coach Al Groh. It's all his idea. First time in school history, players have the names on the back of their jerseys. Cavaliers written on the front over their numbers. New stripes on the helmet, too. Coach Groh says the changes were all his idea. Wanted to modernize the team's look, barring the stripes from the Ravens of the NFL. The Super Bowl champs wants to get a win success here. That's kind of a strange look, too, here in Virginia, guys. You see the tie of the fans. Things very formal here in Charlottesville.
All right, they're getting loud here as Mick Blosser, the ball carrier, and they're going to call it a safety? It is a safety.
Well, that's huge.
Let's see. I thought I saw the indication.
I don't think so. I thought he was able to get across the line. And now,
timeout.
That's what he was waving his arms. He wasn't putting his hands together. And again, Steve, they're so bunched in there that if Penn State, for whatever reason, decided they wanted to run to the outside, they'd have a huge play. See, he just barely gets across the line. Just across the line right there. And as a result, Penn State maintains possession.
Not a bad setting for December 1st here in Charlottesville, Virginia. A beautiful day here. Steve Levy, Todd Christensen, Dave Ryan, and our fine college football crew on ESPN. Penn State They have all 3 timeouts remaining. 2:12 to play here in the half. They already lead 14-3, and they've got 99 yards in front of them. And this Virginia crowd starting to get loud. Cavaliers use the timeout, try to pin them back. Maybe going to score their own. Here's Mills going to throw out of the end zone. Downfield, through the hands of Brian Johnson, and nearly intercepted by Jermaine Winborn. As we send it back to Brian Kenny.
Steve, coming up, SportsCenter in-game at the half. Just how fired up is Virginia Tech trying to derail Miami for the Rose Bowl? We'll have highlights there. Army and Navy, all the tradition and the pageantry, the president there as well. Chris Lee and Kirk in the swamp, and Rod Gilmore will join me at the half. Guys?
All right, Brian, thank you. Off the incomplete pass, 3rd and 10.
I think they're going to do the same thing, and they're going to try something else. As you get a chance to see, Brian Johnson goes right through his hands, and of course, you're not waiting for that. And it ricochets off the shoulder pad. That saved the timeout for Virginia.
Blitz coming on 3rd and 9. That ball is batted up, and that was intercepted. Jerton Evans, a juggling interception, and hearing it from the faithful now. The game's first turnover, and it goes to Virginia.
An ill-advised throw, Steve, because there are people in his face, and he's waiting. He's anticipating Johnson getting open. Now take a look. He's going to have somebody in his face. Here comes the blitz right in his face. He throws before the cut is made. Jerton Evans is able to get up and make the play. Bobbling interception. That's a huge turnover for Virginia. Give an assist to Merrill Robertson, the blitzing linebacker, who is in the face of Zach Mills. Right here you can see, watch him throw and turn away right there. And that's the ball that Jerton Evans able to get up and snatch.
Real athletic interception by Evans. Jobble hand off to Antoine Womack. Again, picking his own holes. Down to the 5-yard line. You've seen him cut back an awful lot in the backfield.
Well, he is impressive, and I thought it was interesting that you pointed out earlier that Al Groh had said this is the guy that you can win with on Sundays. Makes the cut, has great vision now instead of staying to the outside, understands his limitations speed-wide, picks his own hole, gets down to the 5-yard line, and Steve, he's already over 100 yards with 17 carries.
Needed 117 yards to break into the top 10 all-time here at Virginia, and let's get it in the next couple of minutes. Womack is down. Looks like he's in pain, I thought, for a second, as he's banging his hand down on the turf. Lamar Stewart made the stop.
And this time Lamar Stewart, despite being the true freshman, stays at home. He stays at home and waits on him. As we see Womack, he dips now below 100 yards. Just as we said, he had 102 with that loss. And as a result now, once again, a 3rd down situation for Virginia. And Penn State, Steve, has been very tough in those situations.
Loss of 4 on the play. 3rd down and 7. Final 45 seconds of the half. Here's Schaub off play action. He slips down and falls at the 19. Untouched. Michael Haynes would have touched him along with Jimmy Kennedy, but they didn't have to.
And Anthony Adams is in there too, Steve, and you got to give credit to Penn State's defense right there. And again, now a little pressure on David Green. Turf just betrayed him. Right there, he goes to plant. And down he goes. And I say the pressure's on David Green for this reason. Remember, he missed that kick earlier, Steve, the one that he hooked. And now, of course, they desperately need these points to salvage them as they'll wait till the very last second, the last 2 or 3.
Now
so this will be the last play of the half.
Use the timeout. 3 seconds left until halftime. 14-3 in favor of Penn State. Still looking for that bowl berth. Faithful on hand for this game in Charlottesville. SportsCenter in game. Brian and Rodney, they're coming up. But right now it's David Green from 37 yards away. This one is up, and this one is good. David Green, who earlier missed from 27, is true from 37. And we have reached halftime. Our score is Penn State 14 and Virginia 6. Because of that, Penn State is halfway there, halfway home, on their way to a bowl game with a 14-6 lead at halftime. SportsCenter in game, College Game Day halftime report. Brian Kenny and Rodney Gilmore. Sorority girls talking about rushing and evaluating talent. Anton Womack had a pretty good first half talking about rushing and people evaluating his talent, hoping to play on Sundays come next season. Penn State has to feel rather fortunate, Todd Christensen, to this point. I mean, Virginia has had the football inside the Penn State 13 three different times. They only have 6 points to show for it.
Well, again, you got to give credit to Penn State's defense, but I think that one of the issues here is with the young quarterback Schaub. I don't know if they have a lot of confidence in him, because notice on
Sorority girls talking about rushing and evaluating talent. Anton Womack had a pretty good first half talking about rushing and people evaluating his talent, hoping to play on Sundays come next season. Penn State has to feel rather fortunate, Todd Christensen, to this point. I mean, Virginia has had the football inside the Penn State 13 three different times. They only have 6 points to show for it.
Well, again, you got to give credit to Penn State's defense, but I think that one of the issues here is with the young quarterback Schaub. I don't know if they have a lot of confidence in him, because notice on 3 of those times in the third down conversions, they just handed the ball to Womack and hoped for the best. And obviously he is their horse, but they could have done something else.
Our Pepsi Twist first half statistics. Anything jump out at you?
Yeah, it really
Time of
does.
Possession?
Yeah, exactly. I was just about to say the time of possession. Coming into this game, Virginia had averaged less than 6 minutes. I mean, 6 minutes behind the other team. And now here they are in a situation where they have 7 minutes ahead of Penn State. But as you pointed out, they haven't been able to make the most of it.
Arlen Harris is back deep. And Arthur, he's the team's leading rusher and does not even appear on the depth chart anymore. That's an entirely different story, and one of a chance to carry it out of the end zone to be a touchback, 1st and 10 from the 20 for Virginia. As we look back, ESPN's exclusive game track, and bottom line for Penn State, they're a half away from being invited to a bowl game.
As you pointed out, Steve, Virginia has struggled when they had the opportunity to score with only 2 field goals, but Antoine Womack has put on quite a show, as you can see, despite limping a little bit. And I think that's the big issue here in the second half, Steve, will be his fitness as to whether or not he can continue to carry the ball that much.
Matt Schaub leads Virginia onto the field with the quarterback. Will we see Bryce Spinner today? That'd be a question Dave Ryan was able to ask the head coach of the Cavaliers just moments ago.
All right, Coach, 98 yards for Anton Womack in the first half. Still only 2 field goals to show for it. What did you tell your guys about trying to increase offensive productivity?
Well, we came here with a certain way we wanted to play. We're playing that way. I said if we played that way, we play good, maybe great. If we play great in this half, we'll win.
You told us perhaps we'll see Bryson Spinner in the second half. Will we?
Now, what are you, the coach? Huh? Why would you want to change this guy? Okay?
Good luck.
Do you hear Parcells there? I absolutely do. Pitch to Womack, right side. And he is swung around and brought down at the 21-yard line. And if you hear some Parcells and him, it makes sense. They worked together for some 13 years in both college and the NFL, a couple of Super Bowls as well.
Got a lot of the same philosophies. A good example was yesterday. And, you know, everywhere we go, Steve, we talk to the offensive defensive coordinators. In this case, we did not. We only talked to the head coach, and his theory behind that, the same as Parcells, is that he wants one voice for the organization, one voice for the university.
He said you don't rent out parts of your team. Like, you take the offense, you take the defense, because you might not get them back. Interesting philosophy, an NFL kind of philosophy here at Virginia. McMullen went up to get it and could not bring it down. Schaub throwing into double coverage. Bruce Branch was there for Penn State.
And Sean Mayer is the one that comes over and puts the lick on, but he also got a piece of his own man. Bruce Branch made some terrific plays last week against Charles Rogers that prevented scores. And once again, even though he has a leaper behind him, you can see that collision gets just a piece of his helmet. Bruce Branch, certainly the best cover man for Penn State.
Also the top punt returner, and Branch is back at the 35-yard line. And here's the punt by Mike Abrams, and it's a good one. Branch will have to back up and now look to move ahead from the 28. Branch taken down to the 40-yard line, and we go back down to Dave.
All right, we'll see who comes out to start the second half at quarterback for Penn State. Zach Mills or Matt Seneca. At the very end of the first half, after the Mills interception, Penn State coaches told Matt Seneca to get ready. He would come in if the Nittany Lions got the ball back. But, of course, Virginia tried the field goal at the very end of the half. So maybe a little shaky going for Mills at the end of that first half after the pick.
All right, there is Zach Mills, though, Dave. And we'll watch again. I don't think anybody on our broadcast team or anyone in the stadium would be surprised to see all 4 quarterbacks play in the game today.
You see those numbers, not terribly impressive, but again, I think that one of the things, the intangibles that Zach Mills brings is the other people play better around him. He's a true leader.
Eddie Drummond, the wide receiver, is the ball carrier in the backfield. Drummond has gotten the opportunity to carry the ball. They try to get him 6 to 8 carries per game. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way. This is a guy who came to Penn State as a running back, had nearly 4,000 yards rushing as a running back in high school, but thought he could get into the lineup earlier at Penn State as a wide receiver. A couple of good seasons, but this year, a big problem with drops.
Well, Stephen, and again, you want to get your fastest player the ball in some way, but it just didn't work out for the young man wide receiver.
Drummond stays in there. Here's Mills. Set up the screen. It's wide open for Drummond. No blockers, but plenty of running room. He's got the first down and more. Monsanto Pope, the nose tackle, making the tackle downfield. More on that, but first, back to Brian Kenny.
Steve, Miami finally able to finish a drive against Virginia Tech, down 3-0. Ken Dorsey, Jeremy Shockey, tight end, is into the end zone. That after a fumble and a blocked field goal attempt, so 7-3 in the second quarter. Pittsburgh trying to get bowl eligible as well. They lead UAB now 7-0.
All right, Brian, thank you. Speaking of bowl eligible, that's what Penn State is after today. Here's Mills, gonna take off, and he slides down at the 40-yard line. Angelo Crowell made the stop.
And again, once again, he puts the ball underneath, able to head upfield. So frustrating as we get a chance to look at Monsanto Pope.
The nose tackle, we caught him downfield about 15 yards. You rarely see the nose tackle that far down the field. Well, here they set up the screen.
Yeah, he actually gets knocked in that direction. And as we pointed out, Steve, the number of tackles that he has had this year. But you know what? That's a two-edged sword. When you see somebody with 100 tackles, you say, wow, he's all over the field. Well, that also means that your team is on the field an awful lot, too.
Inside, to fake the handoff to Larry Johnson, and Mills is going to go down by Raymond Mann. The linebacker bringing him down. The fake didn't fool anyone that time.
I was about to say in the first half on both sides, as we get a chance to see Matt Seneca contemplating the possibility of playing here in the second half. Both sides of the ball, it seemed that things were effective in terms of fakes and getting to the outside. I think at halftime they made some defensive adjustments.
They made some halftime adjustments a week ago, Penn State did. Joe Paterno and the players talking about a legendary halftime. They were told to keep their helmets on for halftime. That's how rough and tough it got in the Penn State locker room. That's a week ago. Here's 3rd down and 6 now. Mills has plenty of time. Soft pass across the middle, Larry Johnson, and maybe a tremendous tackle. He stopped at the 35, and we'll see if they give him another spot. Raymond Mann brought him down, and they're going to give him the first down.
Remember at the end of the first half with R.J. Luke, remember Mann brought him down just a little bit short. This time, Larry Johnson, with the extra effort, does get the first down. In a lot of cases, you'll see the back just go down in that situation, but Johnson, watch at the end when he makes, here's the dump pass. Again, great protection by the Penn State offensive line. Gets in the ball over. Now watch where he's first touched. Right there, he's 2 yards away. The 360 spin, leans across, just gets a first down. Good effort by L. Johnson.
Here's Mills looking to his right and throwing and completing to John Gilmore. You know, it's funny, Todd, you talk about the great protection by the offensive line. I mean, you go back early on in the season, we talked to the Penn State coaches. They said their offense couldn't do anything based on the offensive line. That's how bad things were for this unit, which really developed nicely. And they're only supposed to lose 1 player, and they bring back 4 out of 5 and could have a very fine offensive line next year.
Yeah, I remember early in the season, Steve, they were like 2nd or 3rd in the nation in sacks allowed, and that has been rectified over the last 5 and 6 weeks.
This is 2nd down and 5 now. Mills thought about it. Now turn upfield and squeeze through out to the 27-yard line.
See, that was the play, remember, that they did earlier in the first half where he put the ball under his arm, looked like he was going to run. This time, Virginia did not buy into it. Watch him actually tuck the ball under his arm. And watch at the top of your screen, watch the corner not be fooled. We jumped through that a little bit. Still, it's a good job by Mills getting whatever he could out of it to force a makeable 3rd down and short.
3rd down and 2. Single setback is Omar Easy. Eric McCoo in motion to the near side. And it looks like they're going to be short.
And Steve, that's a terrific play That's a terrific play on the part of Darrell Sanders, the defensive end. He's the guy you're supposed to option off of. And Sanders plays the halfback, and then he opts not to pitch, and he comes back and makes the tackle on the quarterback, and it's going to be a little bit short. And Steve, here at the 25-yard line with a freshman kicker, I think they're going to go for it.
Angelo Crowell will look to make another tackle. He has 4 already today. Congratulations to him. Sets the single-season record at Virginia, most tackles in the season. Send Blosser in motion far side. And hand it up to the second man through, and it's Eric McCoo who leaps through the pile and easily has the first down.
One of the things that happens when you have everybody bunched in there, and of course, when you're a running back, you just want to plow in there. You want to lower your shoulder and get it. Now watch McCoo here. If he just cuts back against the grain, right here, look at the hurdle. All right, if he keeps his feet, that's a great job of blocking there up front behind Greg Ransom. If he can just maintain his feet a little bit, he goes the distance. Duckett comes over and bumps him down, but he wanted to make sure of the first down, hence the leap.
Gus Felder is the injured left tackle for Penn State. Felder, one of the leaders on this offensive line.
Now you see down there it says senior. Well, he will graduate, but technically, according to what we had read, Steve, he has another year of eligibility if he opts for it.
Ransom would be the only offensive lineman not to return, so it could be a real strong unit. This is an offensive line that had 8 different starting lineups a season ago.
Yeah. Tough to win like that.
You see behind the rushing, which has gone down. Some of that statistic for this season is really misleading because, again, the first 4 games they average is 41 yards rushing. Since then, 165 yards rushing. But heading in the wrong direction every season. Here's Omar Easy, the ball carrier, picking out holes for himself. And he's down to the 12-yard line. We come to you from the Carl Smith Center, home of David A. Harrison III Field at Scott Stadium. Man, that's a mouthful here at the University of Virginia.
Well, thanks for pointing it out. And now leading into the 4th quarter. How long did that take? Oh my God.
And of course, the George Welsh Way is the street just outside of this.
And Monticello is here, the home of Thomas Jefferson. And
McCoo, the right side, pushed back, somehow stayed on his feet, and he's inside the 10-yard line. Actually did a nice job here, an $86 million renovation project all done. They went from the bottom third in seating in the ACC to the top third, with the capacity about 60,000.
Notice that the ball is in McCoo's left hand. Now you're saying to yourself, no, he's got to have that in the right hand, because he's going to his right. McCoo has decided, and Steve, you and I have noticed this year, a number of fumbles have occurred, both on the college and professional level, when people have the ball in the hand they're not used to. And so even though that's been an axiom in football for a long time, I think the coaching now should be, what are you comfortable with, which hand? Keep it in that hand.
2nd down and 7 now. 5 seconds to get the snap off. They do easily out of the shotgun. Mills is going to try to take off himself. Maybe gets back to the line of scrimmage. John Duckett made the stop.
Steve, this would really be large here if Virginia can force a field goal. It would really break their hearts a little bit if Penn State can punch it in and go up 21-6, particularly the way Schaub has been throwing up to this point. Not that he's been awful, it's just that everything has been of a short-range variety. And of course, if they go up 21-6, that too would take Womack out of the game a little bit.
3rd down and 6 upcoming from the 8-yard line. Again, Seneca waiting in the wings. Mills has really yet to distinguish himself passing. He's much more effective running the football. Here's 3rd and 6. Mills all sorts of time. How's this for protection? And forget it. Coverage sack, and it's loose football. Picked up by Virginia. Racing down the sideline is Art Thomas. Thomas gonna go the distance. Touchdown. There are no flags. Art Thomas, 90-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown.
What an absolutely monstrous turnaround, Steve. As you pointed out, they actually came with a blitz. They had 6 guys rushing. but the offensive line does a tremendous job of holding up. Here comes the delayed blitz. Blosser picks it up, but the secondary does a great job. Now he tries to make something out of nothing. Right there at the end is the strip. Excellent job of stripping the ball by Duckett. And as a result, remember, this is the young man Thomas, who we saw as a gunner down the field make all those plays. There's no way that they're going to catch up to him here, and Joe Pa scratches his head. Now, at 14-12, you're saying to yourself, why are you going for one? The reason here, Steve, is there's 21 minutes remaining, plenty of time.
And David Green puts it through. Art Thomas, they're now saying officially 92 yards on the fumble return for a touchdown. Put those bowl reservations on hold, Penn State.
For John Duckett, there he is on the ground. You think he's completely out of the play. Not so. He gets knocked down twice, bounces up. There's the strip. And of course, Thomas is the beneficiary, going the distance 92 yards. And Steve, it's interesting here as you see the graphic. Penn State coming into this game now with the second turnover. You know, Virginia had struggled so much in the red zone by themselves, you know, offensively. Now suddenly here's Penn State in the red zone with an opportunity to score. Virginia turns around on it. Great irony.
Eddie Drummond from the 10, breaks one tackle, trying to bounce outside. And he's out to the 27-yard line. Shenard Newby, the special team stop. Speaking of special, here's Brian Kenny.
Steve, Army and Navy. You're talking about the game. Here, Navy down in this game, but off the punt return, bouncing around. Gene Reese grabs this. They're going to make something happen. Going to pick up 42 yards on this punt return. Going to set up a field goal, so Navy gets a little closer. It's 23-9. Fourth quarter is underway, and Clemson trying to get bowl eligible at Duke's expense. Comfortable lead now, 31-10, second quarter, guys.
All right, Brian, thanks. The shadows starting to set in here. Game time temperature is 67 degrees, if you can believe it. They fake the reverse and hand it off to Paul Jefferson, who gets his first carry of the afternoon.
Now, see, I'm always reminded when I see the fullback carry the ball of the old line about John McKay when in the days of the I-backs and student body left and right at USC. The fullbacks would complain, as you can see, this unbelievable weather. They'd come into the office and say, "What's up?" I said, "I want to carry the ball." And so he always kept one in his desk. He pulled it out and handed it to him and says, "There you go, now you can carry the ball."
Here's Mills on the run. Mills, I think he tried to throw it away and it was batted down. Christopher Canty able to get a hand on it.
The one thing that Virginia is doing a great job of defensively is they're forcing him out of the pocket. And of course, he goes to his left. He is a left-hander. As you pointed out, Canty bats it down, but he's been uncomfortable. He hasn't been able to make the plays that he has in the past. And Steve, we need to give a little credit here. Virginia's secondary, much maligned coming into this game, has played very well.
Al Groves attended a children's hospital yesterday, bumped into Santa and was asked about his wish list. He said some cornerbacks would be good. There's some confusion on the field.
Virginia only had 10 men, Steve.
And that's why Virginia will take the timeout. We'll step out. More on the Grove family story when we come back.
Charlottesville, Virginia. We know Al Groves, the head coach here at UVA. Mike Groh is his receivers coach. And here's Matt Groh. He's a junior quarterback at Princeton. Now, your dad and your brother, players, coaches, what kind of influence does that have on your career as a quarterback?
It's always a source to turn to, whatever kind of situation, not just X and O's, but just the whole mental frame of how to get prepared each week for a game. They're, you know, very much a part of where I am today.
We saw in the middle of the game, Mike came over and had some advice for you about a certain play. Does that help you in your development too?
Always. You know, nobody knows how to throw the ball better than him, than who I know. He's a great tool for Matt, Bryson. He brings a lot of legitimacy to the coaching staff.
Steve, one more after this play.
Here's Mills going to put it up. Down the sideline for Brian Johnson, underthrown, and it'll go incomplete. Shenard Newby had the coverage. Rhino.
All right, Matt, at halftime, your dad kind of yelled at me when I asked about the quarterback situation, who was going to start in the second half. Did he ever yell at you like that?
No, he knows how to handle all of us. And, you know, he's the head coach, and head coaches got to treat their quarterbacks a little bit differently than fathers do.
Steve, Matt says for now, no coaching in his future.
All right, Dave, thanks very much. As we're set for the punt from David Royer. Kierman is back for it. The 30, cutting up the sideline. He's bumped out at the 44. Al Groh yesterday said he had a chance to meet Matt Schaub's parents for the first time, and he sort of commiserated with them, said, hey, it's tough to be the parents of the quarterback. He said, it'd be much easier to be the parents of tackle. But that makes a lot of sense, and as a parent, proud parent of a wide receiver, one of the skill positions, you must be there and feel some of the same things.
And now who's the quarterback?
Bryson Spinner going to check in at quarterback.
Yeah, what did Dave know? Who's he, a coach or something?
Poor Dave. How about Dave working a couple side jobs at halftime with 3 different microphones in his hand?
And here he is with 5 wide receivers.
Interesting set here. Spinner from the shotgun.
That draw.
Quarterback draw. Slow developing. Really slow developing. And actually makes something out of nothing there. Out to the 49-yard line, pushed out by Bruce Branch. Spinner is a big boy, listed at 6'2", 220, but he's got to be heavier than that.
Wrong.
The 6'2" part, we believe?
The 6'2", yeah. We're looking at about, this is about 235 pounds. And, of course, I think part of the frustration for Al Groh is to say, wait a minute, you know what? During the season, it's when you lose weight. You know, that's when you lose weight, not gain it. And, again, he is a young man, as we see Schaub on the sidelines.
On second down, Spinner will hand off to Womack. First down yardage and more. Bangs down to the 40. Branch had to make another tackle. Number 1 stopping number 1. It's a gain of 12.
Once again, Steve, to show how the tenor of the game has been changed by one play. Here we were just a couple of minutes ago talking about the possibility of Penn State getting in for a touchdown and salting this thing away. Now, as a result of that 10-point swing, the momentum clearly is on the side of the blue and orange.
2 Penn State turnovers today. And they reverse, and McMullen gonna throw it across his body. Looked to throw it back to Bryson Spinner, the quarterback, and it was just short.
Well, he needed to wait just a little bit of time here. He needed to take his time. Instead, he's in a big hurry. Now watch, he plants and throws, has his man up the field. Now, if he waits just a little bit, see, these people would come over here. Instead, he's in a hurry. Even if Spinner does make the catch, it's only going to be about a 6 or 7 yard gain.
Interesting that Schaub was in at quarterback. Schaub was in at quarterback, took the snap, pitched to his backup, Bryson Spinner, who then threw to McMullen and just short. Spinner back at quarterback now, able to complete to Chris Luzar, the big target tight end. He's shy of the first down, though. 4.5 to play here in the third. Nittany Lions by 1.
And part of what you just saw is the frustration of Tom Bradley, defensive coordinator for Penn State, and that is the shoddy tackling in the secondary. Steve, that should have been about a 5-yard gain. He gets dropped, but instead, Luzar breaks the tackle of Finney and sets up a 3rd and very makeable 1.5 yards. Take a look right here. First, there's one broken tackle. Finney's the one that has to come over at the end to finish up, because Benfatti could not.
Spinner on the run. Hits Foreman, staying in bounds, looking for some extra yardage, and should have enough for the first down.
And Sean Mayer this time is the one who could not finish the job. Foreman catches the ball, Steve, right at the 30. If he could have been dropped right there, maybe they don't get the first down. But instead, he breaks the tackle, shakes him off. Watch the left of your screen. You'll see Foreman make the catch. Now, if he can be dropped right there by Mayer, you can see the marker right there. Instead, he's able to break a tackle, keep his feet, and get first down yardage.
First down and 10 from the 28 of Penn State. Here's Spinner under some pressure, throws, and it is nearly intercepted. Brian Scott had the coverage and nearly came up with the ball, working on McMullen as we send it back to Brian Kenny.
Steve, who's going bowling? Michigan State needed a win to become bowl eligible against Missouri. TJ Duckett will go in. The first of multiple touchdowns for Michigan State, 55-7. That's now a final. Pittsburgh needs a win to become bowl eligible. They've got a 2-touchdown lead on UAB, guys.
As we take a look at the bowl-eligible teams, I should make a point here. I said earlier that I didn't like Michigan State's chances, but you know what, Steve? They have a couple of star players.
Here's Womack, speaking of star players, down the sideline. He's bumped out at the 14 by Sean Mayer.
And Steve, the thing is that a lot of times what bowl officials need to look at, you got T.J. Duckett, who's well over 1,000 yards. You got Charles Rogers, who I think today just broke the record for touchdown for receivers from Michigan State. And you got a great thrower in Jeff Smoker. So that could be very appealing to them.
And they sell out, I think, the last 19 or 20 games. They bring a lot of people, have fine football tradition there as well. There's going to be somebody unhappy in the Big Ten. A bowl-eligible team who's not going bowling. For option. And he shoveled it off to Pierman, and he's in for the touchdown. Touchdown, Virginia. Now, just when you thought the Cavaliers might go away, things going against them, nothing to play for, they lead Joe Paterno and Penn State.
Watch number 61, Elton Brown downfield. Spinner does a great job, but look at Brown downfield. He actually gets a piece of two people. The other man out front is Mike Mullins, the tackle. For Pierman to go in standing up, that's a great job of blocking downfield by those two offensive linemen.
Pierman was on the receiving end of the old hook and ladder play for the game-winning touchdown against Georgia Tech with 22 seconds left. David Green puts the extra point through, and the true freshman getting it done. A variety of arrays. Virginia, 2 touchdowns in 3 minutes. The Cavaliers opened 3-1, then lost 5 games. Then the Georgia Tech game here, a wild game that featured 7 fourth-quarter touchdowns. It was back and forth all game. In fact, there were 9 lead changes. And then we had the incredible ending. With 22 seconds left, Bryson Spinner to Billy McMullen, and the old hook and ladder to Alvin Pierman for the game-winning touchdown. Virginia a winner, 39-38. Pierman comes off that touchdown now, and he has given Virginia the lead, 20-14, with 3:20 to play here in the third quarter. Larry Johnson and Eddie Drummond at back deep. And it will be Drummond. He'll just take an E, and Penn State will start again, 1st and 10 from their own 20, now trailing by 6.
When Antoine Womack went out, you mentioned Pierman. He was the guy that attempted to fill the void in a lot of different ways, Steve. Not only is the freshman doing it from the line of scrimmage, he has 25 catches coming into this game, averaging nearly 21 yards per kickoff return and 11 yards per punt return. True freshman running back, first guy to get 100 yards, as you see. And he does have some wheels.
Pierman also the first true freshman to start at tailback here since Nicky Fisher did it in 1988. Waiting for Antoine Womack to get healthy again. On 1st down and 10. Here's Mills, forget about it. He's taken down and hard by John Duckett, who came in untouched. SportsCenter in game, an update from Brian Kenny.
Steve, to Miami and Virginia Tech. Clinton Portis will take this for the Hurricanes. 7 yards for the touchdown. Make it 14-3. And Ed Reed just picked one off for the Hurricanes. They are deep in Virginia Tech territory in the final moments of the second quarter, guys.
All right, Brian, thanks. Keep us posted on that pivotal game in the BCS. You see the sacks numbers today.
See that man Duckett, 102 tackles coming into this game. Everybody's been talking about Crowell, but that man has been having a great game today.
Mills on the run, and he's forced out of bounds at the 15-yard line by Christopher Canty.
And I'm not sure that couldn't have been a 15-yarder as we get a chance to see Duckett again. Coming into this game, Steve, as I mentioned, over 100 tackles. No sacks or not a lot of tackles for loss, but today he's got the big strip. We saw him with the sack. He's been all over the field as number 34.
5 times this season, Duckett's been in double figures tackled. The Maryland native was fired up when he got a chance to play the Terps. Had a career-high 17 tackles in that game. This is 3rd down and 14. Single setback is Larry Johnson. 2 receivers to the right of Zach Mills, but he's looking across the middle of the field, and it's intercepted. Picked off. Jermaine Winborn has picked off Mills, and Virginia with the lead and the football.
Steve, he's trying to find John Gilmore down the field, and he had him. He had him in the seam if he could have laid it out just a little bit farther, but he comes up short. And Joe Paterno's not very happy with Gilmore and his inability to reach back and at least make a play, bat the thing down so it doesn't get intercepted. Winborn does a great job of knifing through and making the interception. Watch down the middle of the field. There's Gilmore. You can see him coming down. He breaks and looks the wrong way. I don't think there's anything that Gilmore, frankly, could have done now that I see it on a second look. And Winborn with a pick and yet another turnover, Steve, for the Nittany Lions.
3 turnovers for Penn State, all by Mills, 2 interceptions and a fumble. And for Winborn, his 3rd interception of the campaign. Bryson Spinner looking to go up top for Michael McGrew. Sean Mayer on the cover.
Sean Mayer right with him. They go with the out and up move. Virginia does exactly what I would do, get a turnover and throw it up top. But Steve, there's a flag at the line of scrimmage.
Have to give a whole lot of credit to Al Groh and his Virginia team. Down early. Penalties went against them. Poor play, couldn't cash in with some great opportunities.
Holding on the offense. 10 yards from the previous spot. Remains first down.
Steve, to follow your thought, I really thought that coming into this game with 2 weeks off after getting whacked by Virginia Tech, this is clearly one of those games you use the word cash in. You know, they could have just cashed in their chips and said, all right, we'll go through the motions and let's get out of here instead. They're more than competitive in this game.
And you could see they were moving the football in the first half, up and down the field. They just couldn't get it in the end zone. Here's Spinner now, trying to set off the screen to Womack, and they set it up nicely. Had one blocker in front of him. Screen works well. And they get back all the penalty yardage, and a flag comes late along the sideline. They get hit out of bounds by Shamar Finney.
Well, what happens there is that Shamar Finney has a hold of him. He has to know that he's out of bounds, not to spin him one more time. This is a great job. This is a great job by Womack breaking tackles. It doesn't fool a lot of people. You can see white shirts coming up to make plays, but he cuts to the outside. Now watch Finney right here on the outside. He drops him right by Joe Paterno. But as soon as he did that extra spin and drops him, he's out of bounds by a good 4 yards, and that's when the flag came in.
You saw Joe turned his back on the player.
After the play was over, personal foul, late hit out of bounds on the defense. 15 automatic first down.
We asked Al Groh, hey, what's it all about for you guys in terms of motivation, chance to play spoiler role, really upset Penn State's bowl hopes? He said, no, the incentive is just to win. You feel lousy when you lose, you feel great when you win, and that's what it's all about. That's the message he's been preaching as Alvin Kiernan tries the left side. Picks up 6 on the play. Well, Virginia is really rolling.
Really are. The offensive line has asserted itself up front, and you get a chance to see Seneca. Whether or not we will see him in the game remains to be seen, but that really was a poor throw on the part of Mills that last time, and with the fumbles and everything else, I can imagine that Seneca's going to get an opportunity to go down to Dave Ryan.
All right, Matt Seneca is ready to come in, Todd. After the last interception, Mills threw. Matt Seneca went right to the offensive coaches in the press box to talk to them on the phone. He took snaps with starting center Joe Iorio. Also saw a lot of respect and camaraderie between Mills and Seneca. A good relationship, again, we talked about earlier.
Womack off the pitch to the left side. There's a flag coming down as well. You heard pretty good collision on that far sideline.
And you see the official explaining to Foreman. Foreman looks at him and says, no, it wasn't holding. He says, yes, it was. He said, you had a piece of it. That was interesting. Very rarely do you see dialogue amongst a player and an official, but that was the case. And of course, the player always loses.
Laundry's starting to pile up here in the latter stages of the third quarter.
Now here's the explanation. No, come on. No, I didn't. I'm afraid you did.
And then you make the indication right in the player's face to let him know. We want to talk about the highs and lows of the season. Should Penn State lose this football game today? Think about the tremendous strides they made after the 0-4 start. It's all here for the taking at Virginia, a team they should beat, considering the way the two schools have been playing down the stretch of the season.
Like the Greek mythology about Atlas rolling the stone up the hill, finally getting to the top, and if they were to lose, the thing falls all the way down.
Quick feed out to the right side of Tavon Mason, the fastest player on Virginia. Can't really turn the corner. And he's forced out of the 11-yard line, and we send it back to Brian Kenny.
Steve, Vandy again last game for Woody Woodenhofer, the head coach. Be done after this game, pulling out the regular season, taking on Ole Miss. Here's Greg Zollman to Dan Stricker, going all the way in. 50 yards for the touchdown. Point after just good. 13-3 right now in the third quarter. Utah is already in the Las Vegas Bowl. They're tied up with Air Force in the first quarter.
3rd down and 5 upcoming for Bryson Spinner in Virginia. Spinner rolling to his left. Eludes one defender. And can't elude a second. Loose football. And it goes out of bounds. Virginia catches a break in a big way. The way that ball ricocheted away, it looked like it went off a helmet.
Yeah, I was going to say Haynes was in on that along with Lamar Stewart. It appeared that Stewart was the one that got his helmet on the ball. This is a good job by Haynes not being fooled. See, that double clutch there, you're thinking to yourself, maybe that's the deal, but there's Stewart who has a hold of him. Now Haynes comes from behind and actually punches the ball out. Unfortunately for Virginia, it goes out of bounds, and that means that David Green will have an opportunity yet again for another field goal. That's a case, too, Steve, of Penn State being very unlucky for the ball to go all the way out of bounds like that.
Green from 33. He's 2 for 3 today. Missed from 27 earlier, but hit from 37.
Steve, that's exactly the same as he did before. I was about to say on the left hash is where he hooked it. He did the exact same thing again. And there's a very curious, I don't know about you, a very curious ebb and flow to this game.
Curious would be the right word. It's a strange football game to this point. And you get the sense it's only going to get a little stranger when we see the quarterback from Penn State.
Well, now, those of you who are into melodramas, we see the hook. He plants and he goes just a little bit to the left. And, of course, really the left hash is usually where soccer-style kickers want it because of the natural hook. But Green puts his hands in his head and once again realizes that Penn State is still within one score of taking the lead.
Todd, the only surprise here with 25 seconds to play in the third quarter is we haven't seen all 4 quarterbacks before this time. Matt Seneca in at quarterback for Penn State, and he hands off to Eddie Drummond.
Well, see, this is the thing that Penn State needs to do as we tick down the seconds to the end of the third quarter. Penn State, Steve, despite what Womack had done, had actually outrushed Virginia in the first half. To get away from the run really didn't make a lot of sense because they were getting big chunks of yardage on the ground. I think that's something that Penn State needs to stay with.
Third quarter comes to an end. You wonder what is going through the mind of Joe Paterno. At halftime, they had the lead and were on their way to a bowl game. 3 quarters complete. They're trailing here at Virginia by 6. The ups and downs of Joe Paterno. The Lions were outscored 51-13 in their first 2 games, both at home. Then they went to 0-4, their first 0-4 start ever. Then the second win was the record-setting win for Joe Paterno. And the Nittany Lions, a minor setback throughout this winning streak. They have come back to put things together, winning 5 of their previous 6 games to get to the 500 mark. A win away from being bowl eligible and going someplace for the holidays. Leading throughout the game until the third quarter, now the fourth, which finds them trailing by 6. Second down and 9. Matt Seneca. In and out of the hands of McCoo and dropped. McCoo could not hang on. It was batted around by Winborn and maybe another Virginia player who could not close on the interception.
That's frustrating for Seneca because you want your first score to be on the money, and in his case, it was. But the young man just couldn't come down with the ball, and they're fortunate they didn't get another turnover. He's got some speed on this ball, but still, obviously, that's very catchable. Bounced around, and they just can't quite come up with it. Very fortunate for Penn State.
Winborn had the interception earlier. Penn State just 3 of 11 on third down. What a contrast to 9 of 15 a week ago in the win at Michigan State. Here's Seneca. The protection is good, and the throw. Too much for Brian Johnson, and he couldn't bring it down. Winborn was with him stride for stride.
Again, Steve, it just goes to show, and in this college season in particular, that you just can't predict things. I mean, you had this defense that just been struggled for so long, particularly in the secondary, having played so poorly. And today they've really risen up and done a great job as Penn State now has 3 straight 3-and-outs.
And they're seeing a lot more of David Royer, their punter, than they had hoped.
Steve, not only that, but since the fumble, since Zach Mills' fumble, they've had 10 plays for a net of 1 yard.
Wow. Royer from the 10. Spearman ranging back, touches up at the 25. Now here's Spearman trying to cut back, and Shamar Finney makes all the tackles, the defense and on the special teams. 53-yard punt. There is a flag on the play. And we'll sort things out. As they sort things out, keep in mind every Penn State win, all 5 of them this season have been come from behind. And if they're to get a 6th today, they'll have to come from behind again. Will they get that, what appears to be elusive 6th win here in Virginia?
Well, Steve, we just saw arguably the biggest play of the game. Spinner does a nice job and Spearman goes in, but if you had to point to one play, it has to be that Art Thomas fumble recovery of 92 yards, because Penn State scores there. It could have been over with. Instead, now they're in the driver's seat. Virginia, that is.
Bryson Spinner, at quarterback, has the ball batted up in the air. Jeremiah Davis went up to bat the ball away. Let's check in with Brian Kenny.
Steve, to the 1AA playoffs, Georgia Southern has never lost a playoff game at home here against Florida A&M. Look at that, as Adrian Peterson had only 60 yards rushing until that 45-yard touchdown run. 33-28, the defending champs have the lead back.
All right, Brian, thank you. 2nd down and 10. Spinner will give it to Womack. And Womack across the 30 and out to the 32. Gino Capone made the stop. Todd, I'll ask you, because I have no business saying this, so I'll ask it a question for him. It seems like Womack, every time he gets the football, he does not go to the hole that the play is designed to go to. Now, it's Womack doing it on his own, or is that design?
No, I think it's Womack on his own, and I say this because he is an outstanding back. He continues to do the same thing over and over again, and again, Penn State pursues, and he takes advantage of it. And I can't help but think that there has to be a little nostalgia here for Virginia. This time he gets stuck. Great job by the front four, particularly Adams coming in. But Virginia has to be saying to themselves, what if Womack had been healthy the whole year? But once again, Steve, we talked about it in the first half on 3rd down, their ability. Look at Adams, just plows his way through. He's the one that stuffs in the backfield, tolls in on the tackle, but it's Anthony Adams that blows the play up to begin with.
And as I'm knocking Womack's running style or choice of holes, I will tell you 23 carries for 135 yards today. And a flag down, maybe a motion penalty.
Prior to the snap, false start on the offense. 5-yard penalty remains 4th down.
Steve, this is a difficult, because of the configuration of the stadium, very difficult. Bruce Branch is in the shadows, and yet the ball is going to come out of the shadows into the sun. This can make it difficult for number 1.
Mike Abrams, the punter from the 10. So watch his hang time. High but short, and it takes a Penn State bounce. And the Nittany Lions will take over. 1st and 10 from their 48-yard line. Great field position after just a 27-yard punt.
Here at Charlottesville, it may be December 1st, but it feels like June and Father's Day. We've got another father-son connection to tell you about. John Ganner is here. He is the son of Fran Ganner, the offensive coordinator of Penn State. He plays at Princeton with Matt Groh, who is the son of Virginia head coach Al Groh on the other sideline. Guys, they're good buddies, and they actually drove down 6 hours from Jersey here to Virginia together. A lot of trash talking, as you can imagine, going on. They told each other one of us is going to be pretty upset after this game ends. John plays in nickel and dime situation, defensive back, not an offensive guy for Princeton.
All right, Dave, all sorts of family ties in this one. Here's Larry Johnson with some running room down the sideline, picking and choosing his holes inside the 30. And out of the 27-yard line, and here come the Nittany Lions.
See, this is what I talked about earlier, and this is what they can afford to do. Again, Virginia has been good in the secondary. We pointed that out, but they're giving up 206 yards rushing per game. That would indicate the fact that their front 7 is not all that formidable. Great blocking downfield for Johnson, in that case by his brother. that springs him for a couple of extra yards. This is what Penn State can afford to do. They can run the ball. They don't necessarily have to keep putting it in the air.
That's a gain of 23 yards on the last play. Penn State starting at their own 48, their best starting field position of the game. And they'll keep it on the ground with Larry Johnson inside the 25, down to the 24. Darrell Sanders, the stop in the middle of the pile.
Remember in that drive, Steve, early in the second quarter when they marched down the field, had 40, half of the yards were on the ground. As you see Larry Johnson very pleased with those last 2 plays. His son sticking his nose in there and going north and south.
Former Virginia head coach George Welsh was a Penn State assistant under former Penn State head coach Rip Engel. And Welsh, of course, was under Paterno for 7 years. So again, more of the ties and the family involving these 2 schools. As Seneca squared the shoulders and took on a body. Jerton Evans made the stop, and we check in with Brian Kenny.
Steve, Vanderbilt has lost 8 straight SEC games, winless in conference play this year. But here against Ole Miss, Greg Zolman is going in, and Vandy taking a 20-3 lead. They're now in the 3rd quarter, and at the half, Hurricanes up on top at Tech, 20-3. Guys.
All right, Brian, thank you. First down and 10 now. From the 13-yard line, Easy and McCoo, option to McCoo, and all sorts of bodies there in his way. And he stopped the 11, led by Merrill Robertson.
Frank Ganner, the offensive coordinator that Dave just pointed out, along with his son, had pointed out to me when I mentioned that, well, with Mills at quarterback, you've got a little bit better runner, don't you? And he said, now, wait a minute. He said, yes, he's a little bit faster. He says, but don't sell Seneca short. He said, number 4 can run. And as we saw in that last play, at 6'3", 228 pounds, number 7 isn't the only one that can run with the football. Seneca doesn't hurt him at all on the ground game.
1 week after the spring semester was over, Matt Seneca was back on the Penn State campus working out towards this football season. A tremendous leader as that ball is batted away. Mick Blosser, the intended target. John Duckett able to knock it away.
Well, they got Blosser. What he's going to do is he runs the circle route. He looks like he's trying to make a flat. Then he comes back into the middle of the field, and Duckett is all over. Great coverage by number 34.
Bring up a 3rd down and 7. And this place will get loud again. 57,005 on hand on this first day of December. Seneca off the fake. He swung around, and he's going to go down. He's dropped at the 20-yard line by Darrell Sanders. So Penn State has missed their last 6 third-down conversion attempts.
Not only that, Steve, but that puts them back a little ways in terms of a field goal. Before, you're looking at about a, you're looking at about a 28, 29-yarder. Now Sanders, again, not fooled, like Staminich on the other side. He stays at home. Now we're looking at about a 38-yard field goal.
.37 will call it, Todd, for Robbie Gould. Bit of a problem with the snap out of the hold of Seneca, and it is no good.
Steve, that hash has been very unlucky for both kickers now. That's 3 straight hooks from the left hash. But again, in fairness to Gould, you're right, Steve, that snap was a little bit awry.
The 2 kickers today, Todd, are just 2 for 5 when it comes to field goal attempts. Check out the snap. Little low. Seneca, pretty good job to set it up. And the kicker couldn't put it through. It's a 6-point game. Welcome back to Charlottesville, Virginia. And Virginia leading Penn State by 6. Our U.S. Army storyline. The story is Penn State trying to become bowl eligible. Antoine Womack, a big day on the ground for Virginia. Kicking has been a problem. Turnovers a problem for Penn State. With the U.S. Army storyline, I only wish our troops in Afghanistan who might be watching, and seeming more troops headed in that direction every single day now. We certainly wish them all the best and a speedy return home to the great U.S. of A. 10:21 to play here in quarter number 4. Bryson Spinner Under center, replace the starter, Matt Shaw. Single setback. There's Womack, and they pitch it to him, and he'll pick up maybe one on the play. Anthony Adams slammed him down.
Anthony Adams is playing a whale of a game, Steve. We keep calling that name. He's in the backfield. He's blowing up the offensive line, making tackles. Watch the middle. That's where he is, number 98. There's Adams once again blowing the play up and on the tackle, along with Haynes, who makes the initial hit.
Adams, one of the personality guys on Penn State. Real joke teller. They say he can rap, and he even sported a Santa suit at Christmas this past Christmas. He's got in store for this Christmas. Here's Womack. And Womack is stopped again. Again, it's Adams, this time with some help from Shimar Finney. Today, ABC Sports brings you a day of college football filled with Rose Bowl implications. At 4:30 Eastern, the Civil War is
That's right. That's right.
Oregon State, Oregon. The Ducks still have Rose Bowl aspirations. Joey Harrington involved in that game. You want to give us your prediction? Who you like in that game?
Come on, the Ducks at Autzen Stadium. I grew up in Eugene. I played high school football at Autzen.
How silly of me to even ask that question there. Great football for you all day and night on ABC as well. Luzar goes up and able to hang on. Chris, not to be confused with younger brother Case, makes the grab.
And that's a huge play for this reason. Obviously the third down conversion, but the 6'7", 260-pounder does a tremendous job of getting up and taking the hit. This is the seam route that tight ends run all the time. Finney has his back to the ball. Despite taking the shot from Yisrael, Luzar is able to hang on. Good concentration, as I say. That so many times we've seen that hit and the ball get jarred loose, but not that time.
Sorry, Todd. Israel is a name we haven't mentioned much today. They often mention him in the Penn State game. As that pass is completed again, it's Luzar, and Finney brings it down.
Spinner took a pretty good shot, but again, he's using his tight end well. The middle of the field seems to be open, and Penn State in the first two plays did very well defensively, but now they're struggling a little bit in their ability to cover the tight end.
Every win Virginia has this season, all four of them, have come with Bryson Spinner as the starting quarterback. Matt Schaub 0-5 as the starter, and he got the start today. This is second down and short. Spinner will hand it off to Antoine Womack. He'll have the first down out to the 45-yard line. Brian Scott made the stop. And speaking of guys you expect to mention the names more of, haven't heard much out of Billy McMullen, the star record-breaking wide receiver today.
Well, here's the difference. Certainly, clearly, this is a revelation. I mean, not a profound one, hardly an epiphany. But if Womack had been healthy the entire year, I guarantee you that McMullen, 3 catches for 41 yards in this game, never would have caught 80 balls on the season. And the reason is because they would have had a good runner behind them. Got to give it to your horse.
Womack is giving you every reason to give it back to him today, although we'll get a breather for Alvin Kierman. Seems to be pretty talented as well when giving Womack a breather.
Well, again, the makeshift offensive line that they had starting center, Kevin Bailey is out. They moved Woodson back to center. And, of course, Routson, Jones, and Brown I really have put together. I'm telling you, they got to feel pretty good about themselves, the way they've been commanding the line of scrimmage up to this point.
Prior to the Wake Forest game 1 month ago, they shuffled the entire offensive line. Jones moved from right tackle, Routson from right guard, Bailey from left tackle, and Brown and Mullins came off the bench. Try to set up the screen, just couldn't get it high enough to Womack.
But again, both Finney and Yisrael were there, and actually it's better off for Virginia that it was incomplete, because he would have been dumped in his tracks and it would have been a loss.
So after the incompletion, second down and 10, and it started to get late for Penn State. It's a time-consuming drive by Virginia.
Does the Spinner remind you that body a little bit of Dante Culpepper?
Yes.
Husky like that?
Yes. Culpepper banged up, and it has been a banged-up Vikings season so far. He says he's going to play though this weekend. Pitch to Womack, the left side. And he is forced out of bounds at the 25-yard line. Gino Capone took the brunt of that last hit. 28 carries, 146 yards for Antoine Womack and a first down.
Great block at the point of attack. Watch Luzar clear the hole for him as well as Foreman. He hesitated, he wanted to cut back, but this time he decides to stay with his friends. Good decision. Gets the first down yardage.
Womack, the senior out of Hampton, Virginia. Congratulations to him with his effort today. Cracks into the top 10 all-time running backs rushing yards here in Virginia.
Something else, Steve, this is a tremendous audition for the pros as well. Coming up a high ankle sprain, hasn't had an opportunity to show himself well during the season. Certainly today he's done just that.
5 wide receivers, and Spinner's going to take off. Quarterback draw. And he bangs down at the 15-yard line.
Steve, this is a poor read on the part of Penn State's defense. They came out with the exact same play. The very first play that Spinner had was out of 5 wide receivers. He ran the quarterback draw. Does the exact same thing. And the thing is right there, even though there's a missed tackle, that missed tackle is 4 yards downfield. Once again, the offensive line for the Wahoos is getting it done.
Down to Dave.
Steve, Bryson Spinner, a very different type leader than Matt Schaub is a quarterback. He's subdued, responds more emotionally in games and in practice. Not a vocal presence in the huddle. The guys on the sideline and in the game on the field, you get the feeling Virginia offensively has really settled down under the quiet leader, Bryson Spinner.
Seriously, Dave, they have. Here's Spinner thinking about stepping up. This is a 2nd and 1, trying to turn the corner and just able to get there. And I think he will have enough for the first down.
Well, despite the fact that he's 235, 240, 240, I mean, whatever it is he weighs, Steve, his legs work. He can cut up the field and make some plays, and I think that's an advantage he has over Schaub, who's nowhere near as mobile. There he sees, comes to the outside. Look at the effort to get the first down. Lays out. Tyree Foreman saying, come on, I've got a touchdown. Throw it to me. Nuts. Come on. Of course, you know what? Having been at that position, Steve, I'm always open to.
5th first down on this drive for Virginia. And now flags fly.
You know, you watch how effective Virginia is right here, and it just goes to show how week to week things change, Steve. You look at their schedule and you say, man, this is the team that beat Georgia Tech, and then you say, but this is the team that also lost to
Out of the snaps, false start on the offense.
And of course, that body language speaks volumes. All the heads down looking and realizing that with only 6:09 remaining, their hopes of the bowl season are slowly getting away from it. Of course, remember, Steve, remember, this is a situation where Penn State was down at this end. And Virginia had a huge turnover. You never know.
I would think this broadcast would be very popular in East Lansing today.
Yep.
They'd like one less team to be bowl eligible.
Good point. Also Iowa City.
Yeah. West Lafayette.
West Lafayette, yeah. You're absolutely right.
Trying to work on the clock. I think they're going to add a whole 2 seconds onto the clock. And while they do, Sunday Night Football over on ESPN. Tomorrow night, 2 of the league's premier wide receivers meet in San Francisco. There's Eric Moulds, of course, and then there's Terrell Owens of the 49ers. The Bills and the Niners, Sunday Night Football on ESPN. I read where the Bills, 1-9, are still eligible mathematically for the playoffs. How about that? Here's Womack now, trying the left side. And he's taken down by 3 white shirts. Sean Mayer led the way. With all the tiebreakers, Todd, and everything, the Buffalo Bills have not been mathematically eliminated from the NFL playoffs. That's amazing.
Sean Mayer, you see right there, that's the leading tackler for Penn State this year. Drops Womack for a loss, or rather right to the line of scrimmage. Of course, last in the ACC in rushing, and obviously the reason is you don't have your stud. I mean, it's plain and simple. You get your stud back and you can run.
Womack, 29 carries. They've set all sorts of single-season passing records here. Exactly for that point. Womack being out. Womack tripped up there.
Shamar Finney just got a piece in there. Otherwise, you can see Womack's frustration. He could have gone. And so much for the idea of his fitness, Steve. That's his 30th carry of the game. So even though clearly he's not 100%, his wind is just fine.
5:12 to play, and the clock is moving. And right now, it's ticking away from a bowl berth for Penn State.
Well, Steve, Virginia doesn't want to do anything foolish here. They can just be content to hand the ball off and kick the field. He did. He did.
Here's Pearman inside the 10, and he's pushed back.
A small thing here, Steve, but I wish to point it out. And that is that the young man Green has missed 2 field goals from the left hash. Now, if I'm on the sideline and I know all I need to do is have a field goal, I turn to him and say, where do you want it? Do you want middle of the field? Do you want right hash? Because you've got time to do it. I mean, you could a quarterback sneak to have done that. And now here he is on the left hash, which has been very unkind to him up to this point.
See Green walking it off. And is set to attempt a 25-yard field goal. He's missed from 27 and 33, hit from 32 and 37. Again, this from 25. To make it at least a 2-possession game. It is up, and it is no good. The left hash mark unkind. And it keeps Penn State in the football game and their bowl hopes alive.
It's interesting how you can't make the adjustment, and it's surprising to me. You would think that after the first 2 misses, Green would have made an adjustment on his steps. Instead, he does not, and he knows right away when he kicks it, he needs to look up and take a look. Al Gross says, obviously this game is not salted away. Joe Paterno says, still home.
Across the field here at Scott Stadium in Charlottesville, and Penn State hoping the sun not setting on bowl opportunities. Very emotional sideline here a moment ago when David Green hit the left upright. The field goal no good to keep Penn State's bowl hopes alive, to keep this a 6-point game. Guys were hanging their heads, as Stephen Todd pointed out, went right to jumping around in elation. Zach Mills back in the game, guys. Recall, he has led this team to 3 comeback wins this year. Matt Seneca will not play again. They're also without starting left tackle Gus Felder, out with a sprained ankle.
All right, Dave, we'll watch for that as they run to the left, and now Mills cuts it back to the right, and he'll pick up 4 on his own scramble as we hit the 4-minute mark, 4 minutes to play, potentially in the season for both of these teams.
And see, this is all 4-down territory. So if you're at home thinking to yourself, why did they run the option? It's because it's all 4-down territory. And once again, a reminder, forgive me for insulting your intelligence, but when you do get the first down, the clock does stop. But Penn State, you can see, clearly not in a big hurry.
Virginia's defense should be well rested. That was another 14-play drive by the Virginia offense with nothing to show for it. Second time today. Mills able to connect to John Gilmore. Earl Sims brings him down, but not until he had first down yardage.
Now remember, on the other side of the ball, Virginia made judicious use of their tight end Lazard. This would be a good opportunity for Penn State to do the same with Gilmore, because they certainly are concentrating on the outside people. Gilmore, with a couple of more catches like that, can continue to move the sticks and stop the clock.
Todd, Penn State had missed on its previous 6 passing attempts. That's the 2 quarterbacks combined. Pitch out to Eddie Drummond, the left side. Just barely able to turn the corner. Maybe got 3. We'll see where he stepped out of bounds.
Well, Steve, I mentioned the fact that Penn State seems to be taking its time, but you know what? At some point, they're going to have to move with just a little bit more alacrity. Here you have Drummond with the stiff arm, able to stay in bounds and get a little extra yardage there. Actually ended up getting close to 4. And another good thing, of course, for Penn State, he stopped the clock.
Penn State has all 3 timeouts remaining. You knew it was going to come down to something like this, though, right? The way the season has gone for Paterno and Penn State, it just wouldn't be like them to win by 30 points.
And this is where their stud Brian Johnson needs to make a play.
Here's Mills, time to survey the situation. Batted up and intercepted. It's picked off Merrill Robertson for Virginia. And there is, they're going to say incomplete now. A flag down. There is a flag down on the field.
And this is going to be a huge call. And it appears that somebody was offsides, I think.
Prior to the snap.
Wow.
Prior to the snap. False start on the offense. That negates the play. 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. Remains 3rd down.
Actually, it remains 2nd down. But that's just a gigantic break for Penn State.
Wow.
Gigantic break for Penn State. Take a look and see where the movement is at the line of scrimmage. I don't know. It looked like potentially, it looked like the right guard there, Tyler Volosky, might have moved, but
I didn't notice it either.
Well, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. Right here, you saw the right tackle might have moved just a little bit. Tyler Linder, rather, excuse me.
Another pretty athletic interception by Robertson, but it won't count as an interception. It'll just go as no play. Injured player down for Penn State is Greg Ransom. We'll check on his status. More of this thriller when we come back.
There's really been no easy way to remove a strip screw.
Helped off the field.
See the collision that he makes. He's in on the tackle with Robertson. Watch, just left of your screen. He's going to come in, hit him there. It looked for a minute there that maybe it was a situation. I think he might have knocked himself out, Steve. Watch his head hit Powell right there. And now, of course, this is a problem for the offensive line of Penn State, Steve, because now they have two reserves now start in the game.
Left side, Felder and Ransom are both out of the game. Here's Mills going to his right side. Good idea, able to connect to Nick Blosser. And he's out to the 45.
Now the thing is even though it's close to a first down, it does stop the clock. Now Penn State needs to hustle, and Zach Mills is doing exactly that. He's explaining to people, now we need to get to the line of scrimmage and get going.
Here's the first down. Penn State has all 3 timeouts remaining. Again, every win they've had this season, they've come from behind. If they get a 6th and become bowl eligible, it will be in come from behind fashion. Mills feels the pressure, dumps it off to Larry Johnson. He's just across midfield into Cavalier territory to the 48-yard line.
Zach Mills is down, Steve.
Mills is down back at the 34, trying to pick himself up off the field. And I don't think any of his teammates even realize looking behind, and only now do a couple head in his direction. He's got the ankle injury. It was the left ankle that he sprained against Illinois, and that's what they're working on.
Take a look at the left ankle and see how it's planted when he gets hit. He waits to the last minute, gets the ball out, and you can see right, oh gosh, ouch, 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 ouch. That's not a dirty play, folks. It's just tough sometimes when your cleats get caught. And Steve, as we watch him limp off the field a la Bradshaw, don't think that he might not be able to get back in the game.
And here's Matt Seneca. Mills was 3 for 3 on this possession. And here's Seneca. His second stint of action in this game. Has yet to complete a pass today. Look through the lone setback. Here's Seneca looking downfield, throws in the heavy traffic area, and is it intercepted? It is!
Well, that's a great catch. Steve, that's a terrific catch on the part of Chris Williams, the safety, who comes over and reads the eyes of Seneca. He reads the eyes of Seneca. He comes off of his man, cuts in front, and makes the interception. And I say particularly impressive because watch, he's going to come right in there and lay out and hang on to the ball. You figured at that point that maybe Brian Johnson can strip him of the ball. Instead, Williams able to hang on. Great anticipation and great hands on the part of Williams. Yet another turnover for Penn State.
Only fair, maybe, Todd. The earlier interception wiped out on what we thought was a questionable penalty call. And so they do get the football back. 4 turnovers in the game. Penn State has coughed it up all 4 times. 3 interceptions and a fumble. And now a timeout to stop the clock with 2:02 to play.
And now, as you pointed out, Steve, they did have all of their timeouts on that drive. Clearly here, they are going to use all of their timeouts here on the running plays. The big issue is whether or not, in this particular situation, they can stop Womack. And if I'm Al Groh or Bill Musgrave, offensive coordinator, I'm giving Womack the ball.
Let's give the ball to Brian Kenny right now. Brian, you run with it.
Steve, here we go. Army and Navy, it's over. And there you see the Cadets breaking a 2-year run for Navy, 26-17 the final. Army has won 11 of the last 16 meetings in this rivalry, going back to the Jim Young days, took over at West Point. Meantime, Air Force did win the Commander-in-Chief's trophy this year. Now tied up with Utah, 14 apiece that game in the second quarter. Steve, Todd?
All right, Brian, thanks very much. We're back for the exciting conclusion of this one. 2 minutes to play. When you think about the way it has gone for Penn State, first 0-4 start in history. They win 5 of the next 6. This would appear to be a very winnable game for them, with Virginia really having nothing to play for. Now Penn State needs to stop on defense.
They do. They need to stop Womack because he is the guy. But the offensive line for Virginia has been so assertive, Steve.
And Spinner gonna keep it himself. He is hit hard by Tolles down to the 42-yard line.
And that's a great play by Tolles for this reason, Steve. When he initially started the bootleg, it appeared for all intents and purposes that he had a lot of running room. But Tolles, the 205-pound outside linebacker, cuts down the yardage and is able to get Spinner on the outside and force now a 3rd and about 5.
Penn State another timeout. They have 1 remaining. A 3rd and 5 will be upcoming with the ball spotted at the 42-yard line.
Joe Paterno is over there trying to get with his troops, saying how essential it is that they stop him here, and I guess that pretty much goes without saying.
About 15 minutes from now here on ESPN, Georgia Tech and Florida State, both already set for bowl games. The Yellow Jackets will play Stanford in the Seattle Bowl. Florida State will face Virginia Tech in the Gator Bowl on New Year's Day. Georgia Tech, Florida State, some momentum heading into the bowls.
Let's go down to Dave Ryan for a report on the quarterbacks for Penn State.
All right, guys, a minute 50 left in this 4th quarter. Even if Penn State does get the ball back, they can stop Virginia on this 3rd down and force a punt. Zach Mills limping quite a bit on the sideline. It does not look like he can go. Matt Seneca's got the helmet back on. That's been a telltale sign he's going to come back into the game should the Nittany Lions get the ball back. Guys, keep in mind, too, even prior to getting hurt on that last possession for Penn State, Zach Mills had a tender ankle, was not running well.
All right, Dave, thank you. The all-important 3rd down and 5. Here's Spinner. And he is slung down from behind by Michael Haynes at the 40. And Penn State will quickly spend its final timeout. 1:41 left, and the Nittany Lions are going to get the football.
Now, here's something that's really large, Steve, and it's Abrams. And I say that for the punter for this reason. And that is that leading up, he had 3 or 4 punts. He was averaging about 46 yards a punt. On his last punt, he had about a 25-yarder. This time, he needs to get the ball downfield. He needs to force Penn State to go the long way.
Penn State trying to join a select handful of teams that started 0-4 and then went on to a bowl berth. And you look at that BYU team in '74, Todd. What was that like?
Well, that was great. As a freshman fullback on that team, we started the season 0-3-1, and it was one of those where we were just happy to be here. But boy, we put together a string. Gary Scheide was our quarterback, an All-American. He did a tremendous job. Our defense was just studly. That was the year we beat Arizona State, and Arizona State in those days was in the WAC conference with us. That shows how long ago it was. It wasn't even the Pac-10, it was the Pac-8. But what a thrill it was to go down to the Fiesta Bowl there in December of 1974. Wow, that seems like a long time ago.
Todd, how tough was it to keep the faith during that season, what the Penn State players went through?
Once you got the first win, you felt something happening.
4th down and 7, and here's the punt now. Mike Abrams from his 25, Bruce Branch at his own 20. They'll really get a piece. Branch will let it bounce. And it'll bounce just inside the 20-yard line. That's where the ball will settle. 1:30 to play.
And guess what? Guess who's coming in the game?
Zach Mills is back at quarterback. 90 seconds left in the game in regulation time. Penn State has no timeouts left, and they trail by 6. And this is kind of what it's all about, Todd, right?
Well, it is. The thing that's going to be difficult here for him is that his nature is, if things break down, he's going to run. Clearly, he's limited, but you know what, Steve? There's a lot to be said for those endorphins.
Out of the shotgun. Mills, the protection is good. The throw is not. Although it looked like Gilmore might have mistimed his jump. They've had some problems today, Gilmore and Mills getting together.
One of the advantages that he does have, Steve, though, is that with the clock stopping on the first downs, he can throw to the middle of the field, unlike in the pro game when you need to go to the sidelines. Mills can afford to throw, but once again, Steve, something to point out with regards to that ankle. is it makes it that much more difficult to throw when you exchange the weight.
2nd and 10 after the incompletion. Mills again, all sorts of time. And that ball is caught by Bryant Johnson, sideline, stops the clock. They'll move the chains as well, gain of 16 on the play.
Now there's some onus on defensive coordinator Al Golden for Virginia, and it's this, Steve. You can't just continue to come up with the same defense over and over again. He needs to take a couple of chances here with some blitz or some man coverage, because if he continues to sit back in the zone, that affords Mills the comfort of picking it apart.
Keep in mind the secondary, really the weakness, especially at cornerback for Virginia. They figure to be tested here by Mills. Forget it! Mills is picked off. Angelo Crowell on the interception, and that should seal the deal and seal the fate of the Nittany Lions.
Steve, it just goes to show that sometimes youth will be served, and I mean that in a negative fashion. Mills, we've been afforded the luxury of watching him have these marvelous comebacks and make terrific plays. For whatever reason, number 7 just did not have it today, Steve. This is just a terrible throw. He throws right between the 5s, and Crowell, that's an easy interception for him to come up and knife that. And it seems appropriate that at the end of the year for Virginia, that arguably their best defensive player would come up with a key turnover.
It's the 5th turnover by Penn State today, the 4th this half, the 3rd interception thrown by Zach Mills. And the reaction from Joe Paterno. The highs and lows of the season. Actually, it was a low, then they went 5 or 6, then it was a high, and it will end with a resounding thud.
It goes to see how strange this game is, Steve, and why you actually do have to come out on the field and play the games. Oklahoma State beating Oklahoma, Colorado beating Nebraska. Steve, if you polled 100 hardcore football fans before this game and said who's going to win this game with the motivation and everything else, I'm sure that at least 90 would say that Penn State's game to win. Instead, let's give credit to Al Groh and his staff for preparing the team as well as they did to come in and put on a tremendous show and come away with a home team victory at the end of the season when they had no business doing it.
David Green taken off the hook. Yeah. The kicker for Virginia, just 2 of 5 today. Missed 3 field goals from 33 yards or less. I think he just said thanks, man. If you could read Green's lips, I think he said thanks, man, to the defense. And wow, for the Penn State players and Joe Paterno, what a way for this season to end. It will end for Penn State, just the 3rd losing season in Joe Paterno's 36, and the first time they'll miss a bowl game for consecutive seasons.
Well, Joe Paterno has ridden the wave, and of course, as you look at Zach Mills, remember you saw him patting him on the back as we see the bowl-eligible teams for Big Ten. You want to feel sorry for Zach Mills, but Steve, I've just got a hunch he's got a lot of very good football ahead of him.
And the fans here at Virginia storm onto the field. Might have been a 50-50 crowd. Penn State, Virginia, and the Cavaliers spoil the Penn State party. Penn State headed back to their dorm rooms. They're not going to a bowl. Coming up next, Georgia Tech and Florida State. Thanks for watching, everybody. Virginia a winner.